On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick will dive deep into the writing team reveal for the Acolyte series, which contains scribes from House of the Dragon. After that, they'll dip their toes into the Star Wars special editions to discuss the best and worst edits that George made to his original films in 1997 and again in 2004 for the digital releases. Yes, Han shot first, so tune in to see which edits the guys think are legit and which were pieces of poodoo. If you wanted a cuss there, hire Matt to do these. Of course, the show will end with a question of the week responses and the latest round of Top 5 Star Wars Fan Artist Features. Punch it, Chewie.
Hey, now everybody, there we go. I see some warm bodies in here bringing those meat bags like HK-47 used to say, right, Nick? Everyone's favorite Sith assassin droid. How's it going, fandos? Welcome back to a Star Wars Time Show Tuesday. I think we're going to settle back into our usual day and time now that it doesn't look like we're going to get any new Star Wars. At least for Nick, what do you think? 6 months? 8 months? 12 months? 2 years?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how these conversations continue to go between the studios and the actors. But here's the thing, though. I feel like if it continues to hit roadblocks, there will be like already produced content that gets released even without the actors.
They'll just, the studio's gonna be like, fuck it. We know we can't get them to promote, but we need to get it out there. Yeah,
exactly. Like, I feel like that's kind of the route that'll end up happening. But yeah, I mean, latest news was they had a date, they had the conversations, still no deal. And like, in terms of what that means for us as Star Wars fans, like we were just saying, you know, it's not great with, you know, that means that no content that was about to be produced or no content that was in the middle of being produced or wasn't finished being produced will continue for the foreseeable future until they figure out a deal.
So, Nick, do you think they're going to sit on Skeleton Crew then? Because that thing, we should be talking about it like coming out tomorrow, essentially.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is
so?
In
do they sit on that, or do you think they still had enough production work to do that they just physically can't button it up?
That's a good question. Like, I'm not sure where they ended production, but I feel like if they don't need actors, like if they don't need to do like pickups, they don't need to do reshoots or something like that, I do feel like they're going to end up just releasing it and then, you know, like finish up whatever, you know, visual effects and post work needs to be done and then just put it out. Yeah. Because I don't think that they're going to, like, they're not going to be cool with just sitting there and releasing nothing until the actors in the studios come.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I know we may talk about it too much. Who knows? Maybe that's why we got 5 people watching us right now. But we have actively covered the rise, fall, and the just general conundrum with streaming platforms for, it feels like, the past year. And it's like, are these studios just going to let these streamers sit stagnant because they have no option outside of doing what Netflix is doing and buying other studio content and airing it there on their platform, or, you know, dusting something out of the archives and doing reruns or, hey, we've been sitting on Family Ties, for example. Let's air that for the, you know, 40, 50 somethings that may want to watch it today because there's nothing to watch that's new and exciting out there in streaming land. So I think you're correct. At some point in time, depending on contract language, this, that, and the other thing, not rubbing someone the wrong way, these studios, these streamers, they probably are just going to have to bite the bullet, right? And be like, hey, this was in the can. We did our data on it. And yes, we could have got X amount of more dollars or X amount of more subscribers if we had the stars to promote it. But you know what? Nick in accounting, he did some number crunching too, and he said, you know, if you release it, we're still going to get something out of this, so just let it go, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, that's what happened with Fall of the House of Usher. One of the things that you wanted to talk about, like, they released that even during the SAG strike, and I remember Hamill came out and said something on, like, Instagram or some social media. He was like, thanks for all of the love for that thing that I can't talk about. And that's literally all he said. And it was in reference to the new show that Netflix was just like, you know what? Like, we're just going to put it out. Like, I don't give a fuck if because like,
it was,
how much?
Yeah, it was done. So let's release it, right? Fuck them. We don't need the stars because Matt's dumbass is going to see the thumbnail pop up and the algo's going to probably recommend it anyways.
Yeah. And I mean, you can do promotion, like you can do trailer promotion. You can do, you can have the, producers talk about the show to the media or anything like that, because technically the producers are on the studio side. It's AMPTP or something that. One of those P's stands for producers.
Correct.
So, there are still people out there who can do press for this type of stuff, and maybe they just get to a point where they're like, well, fuck it. Like, we're not just going to not release anything for, X amount of time. We're going to put something out, and, we'll continue our negotiations as the time comes. But yeah, it's I don't know. I didn't think it would go this far, honestly. After the writers had got their deal struck, I was feeling pretty confident that the actors would get theirs done too. But
yeah, who knows? I mean, I don't know. Like, I doubt they're looking for anything extraordinary over what the writers officially decided to sign on. But yeah, clearly two different unions, different negotiations, different wants and needs. I would imagine the SAG-AFTRA union is a bit larger than the writers, like by a ton. And
they also just have so much leverage to throw around.
Yeah,
like they're like, oh well, you're just not gonna. What are you not gonna use any SAG actor ever? Like, yeah, you can hire scab writers. Like, people have hired scab writers in the past. What are you gonna do for your actors? Are you gonna hire scab actors? Like, then shit's really going to go off the rails.
So, Nick, Nova's saying, I wonder if they'll hold it until they see Disney Plus subscription numbers dropping. I'm assuming like Skeleton Crew.
Well, they've already seen that. They've already seen that. Like, they've been, I think, 2 consecutive months of subscriber decline for Disney Plus. But and that's what really sparked their whole thing to start with. That's what sparked their, oh, we're going to raise your rates by $1. Oh, well, we're going to start to crack down on password sharing and stuff like that too, because they saw 2 consecutive months of subscriber decline. So that wouldn't be anything new. That would just be like a further indication that, the ecosystem itself is probably like in a bit of a decline. I think that a lot of people are starting to just like cancel certain subscription services when their content is out of season. Like, I know that a lot of our viewers, like, you have Disney Plus for a month or 2 months when Star Wars is out, and then after that you cancel it, and then you re-up when,
You hit the nail on the head. Our viewers, they cancel us when Star Wars isn't in season. So you're 100% correct. The people that listen to us, they want their fucking Star Wars. They want it fresh, and they want it now. No talking about news, the past, nothing. It's got to be current, brand new, and hopefully Kathleen Kennedy didn't have a stamp on it. Yeah, you talk about price increases. I don't know if you still sub to Max, but did you see these motherfuckers? Like, just this weekend, I get an email from Max. Like, hey, by the way, you don't need to do anything, but at your level, you're no longer going to get Dolby Atmos and 4K. So fuck off.
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Oh, okay. So now I got to spend. You're like Netflix now, or YouTube TV, where you have to pay a premium tier to use your fucking technology that you spent thousands of dollars on in your home. It's
like,
this nickel and dime shit is even going to
Yeah.
drive a fucking lemming streaming app guy like myself off the cliff. Like Nick said, most smart people, when shit's out of season, what do? They cancel it. Not this guy. I sit there and ride like Paramount Plus. You want my $10? Here you go. I haven't watched shit in 3 months, but I don't give a fuck. Here's your money. Here's your money. Here's your money. That's still not good enough for these people, Nick. They want me, some idiot that just vomits up money, to pay even more so I can use my fucking 4K TV and Dolby Atmos setup.
See, I think that you can. I don't know how mine works because I have the what you call. I have the ads supported one.
It doesn't. So yeah,
Yeah.
Nick, your content's gonna be in like 480p next month.
No, I mean, because we watch it all the time, and like ours still is like high quality. Like it's still 4K. I think
it won't be next month. All I'm telling you right now, the new deal, like there's the ad plan, like Nick said. I think you'll be lucky to do 1080p next month. I'm not kidding. You might even.
No, I saw it because it only said the ad, the non-ad one. But
that makes sense. The motherfucker's spending more money than the people that are getting the ads. We're the ones getting penalized. That makes a ton of fucking sense.
They make
Max.
less. They make less money off of you. That's how it is. That's really what it is. They make less money off of you than they do off of me.
Yeah, well, that's their fault for setting the wrong fucking pricing model to start with, because we pay a premium, Nick, not to watch commercials. And now the way to get us to pay more is, we're going to take away high def streaming. You better look, though. I'm not kidding. Like, I guarantee you they fuck with your plan, too. Like, you might not. You'll probably only be able to stream it to one device concurrently next month.
Oh, I mean, yeah,
and like I said,
because I don't have anybody else.
480p and all that fun shit. Like I can't stand that. It's like YouTube TV the same way. The only way to get fucking 4K on YouTube TV is to pay for an extra $10 a month premium package, and then you might get one football game all weekend in 4K. And yes, it looks different, you motherfuckers. Like, all you old people out there, I've never even seen the difference. Well, you know what? You're fucking stupid. There is a clear difference between 1080, 4K, 8K. It's very clear. Fidelity matters, all right? Don't give me this shit. I can't see the difference. Go watch a DVD and then go watch a Blu-ray. And you tell me you can't see the fucking difference.
Yeah, I think that like even if they did drop us from 4K, I just wouldn't care and be like, whatever.
Yeah, well, you're normal, right? You don't sit here and have all these neuroses like I do. I mean, I am not only just a video file, I'm also an audio file. I mean, Nick, we set up kind of a gazebo on the deck this summer, right? We put like these, not tarps, but nice zippy things up so I could keep my electronics out there. Most people would be happy just to have a big screen TV out there, right? You know, hey, outside. It's not really an outdoor room. It is physically out in the environment. Having a TV out there to just walk down, sit down and watch, light a fire, that'd be great. No, not this guy. Not only did I need a high-def TV, I also needed an AV receiver. I needed rear speakers, a subwoofer, and 3 front speakers. Okay? That's how I had my deck set up all summer. I just had to tear it down because it fucking gets cold up here and the shit will freeze to death. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't just watch something. Like, you motherfuckers that watch shit on your phones, I just assume you're brain dead. I don't know how you can consume some of this high fidelity content on a fucking smartphone or a tablet. It's criminal. George Lucas didn't make the Star Wars fucking series, the prequels, the special editions, what we're going to be talking about today, to be watched on a smartphone or a tablet. He wanted you to have fucking THX in your home theaters before you could even get it. So stop it, Max, making me pay more money. And I will, because I'm a dickhead. I will pay them more money to get the 4K. And I won't even watch Max because Max sucks. They don't even get new movies for like 60 days. Netflix is taking Max's head right now and just face fucking it.
I have the cheapest Max plan, and I don't plan on upgrading it. Like, that's just what it is. I don't give a fuck.
Hey, while we're talking about me fucking shit up, look at this, Nick. And I'm blaming all you dickheads that take pictures and shit of your toys. Look what I ended up buying. Do you see this?
What is I
ended up After, I think last week, getting on a soapbox and saying, I'm no longer buying Black Series figures. It's been like a year. Yay. And I'm now holding the Darth Malgus Black Series in my fucking hand. Okay? And because I still have a little bit of collecting OCD and I like to have, waves together, I was like, you know what, Nick? I got Revan. I need Malik. So I completely fell off the No More Black Series bandwagon this past weekend and dropped like $70, rush ordering from Amazon, Malgus and Malik. And I'm not going to lie, they're fucking beautiful. But when I look at them now, I'm reminded of my weaknesses, okay? I'm reminded that I am a weak man when it comes to this type of shit, especially blowing money away. So thank you.
The Malgus looks good though. That's a cool looking figure. I think it's just because I put it up too much.
It is. So it's your fucking fault. And all you dickheads that still take pictures of your toys that I'm jealous of because I don't do it anymore. And it does look like fun and I miss it. But this is a fantastic Black Series figure. He is boss. He is bigger than Vader, which kind of hurts me a little bit because I don't like talking shit on my boy Annie. But it's a great Black Series figure. And I'll tell you what, Malik looks pretty damn good too. So maybe I'll get them all together and we can have a Sith Lord party at some point in time with the camera. Thanks, Be Mad. Thank you. They do look sick. I just hate myself for buying them because I really have been good for the past year or two with Black Series. And I need to get my pre-orders in for Thrawn. I know not Thrawn to Nick, but the Hot Toys Thrawn, Nick, last week, we got the tease of him. He looks fantastic. And the hair is there and the chopper. Those are all still on the list. All right. So like Nick teased here, I got a little pop culture to get into before we touch on a light topic and then hopefully have some fun with our beefy topic this week, which is going to be the best and worst Star Wars Special Edition and Beyond edits. And the way I say beyond, because if you truly know your shit, George has been tinkering with the movies, especially A New Hope, literally since like 1978.
Yeah, they changed.
But Nick, we're really going to zero in on the 97 Special Edition and then again in 04 with the DVD release, some more sweeping changes came in. And then if you really know your shit, there were even more changes when it hit Disney Plus. So we're gonna take a look back. We're gonna look at all the best edits, if there are any. There are some. There's actually more, but I think you'll see at the end that the best edits are mostly low-hanging fruit.
You told me this, I was like, what the fuck is a good edit?
Hey, like I said, I put some time and thought into this, Nick, and we will be shifting more towards a topic-based show because of all the shit we just started talking about. There's zero news to cover. As Mando Pirate identified in our Discord. If you want to join, we got an open link. Hit StarWarsTime.show, Instagram up, grab the link tree, join the Discord. I do get in there and have some fun with the group in between shows. But Mando Pirate is in there talking about something that I completely forgot because I took too many detours before I got to the point. So, fuck. What the hell did he say? What was I saying before I said Mando Pirate? Do you even remember that? Probably not.
Yeah, you were talking about some of the different potential top moments from the special edition.
Oh, now I remember. Mando Pirate said the reason he likes our show, Nick, is because it reminds him of the Stern Show, but with Star Wars. And I was like, well, that's exactly what it should be. But when you take that into consideration,
that everybody who listens to Howard Stern is 40 years old or older.
Well, there's that, but they also cover a lot of current events, and current events of Star Wars are gone.
Yeah,
okay,
very, very.
So we are going to pivot towards special topics, and now my little stupid head, I can cook up some. We can steal some from Beyond the Dune Sea. Maybe Nick will think of some in between shows. But we'll lean on you all too. What's some dumb shit in Star Wars you'd like us to talk about? Because today, like I said, we're going to break down the best and worst edits to the Star Wars trilogies. And I say G's because some people forget that the prequels got a little special sauce too. Mostly TPM, but I want to reveal that secret for that spot. That's called the tease, my friends. So hang on the line, listen. But like I said, for you diehards that are in here in the Discord, in the stream now, if there's anything you'd like to hear us discuss, be it a ranking, a tier list, or just a random conversation, like Nick, I have another one planned, and you're probably gonna be like, what is this guy smoking or eating? But I've been sitting on this one since Mandalorian Season 3, and it's the bigger hero planet in Star Wars. Is it Naboo or is it Alderaan? So that's the type of shit I'm talking about. Like, we're open for anything, even if it's an Ask Us Anything. So you diehards out there, anyone listening on the podcast-only version, start writing down those notes. Send us emails through the site. Hit us up on Discord. DM us on Instagram. We are open for business. Make these monkeys dance, if you will. All right? So anyways, getting into the Bill Alexander. He changed his handle to his full name. Check that out. Anyways, the fall of the House of Usher, like Nick talked about a few minutes ago. I know we're a day late and dollar short. That's my middle fucking name. All right. I love scary shit. I tend to not get caught up in new releases and whatnot. I'm fully aware of who Mike Flanagan is, but I will tell you, I have not watched any of his series on Netflix until the fall of the House of Usher. Thanks to the intern, was really kind of nudging me on this one. And then obviously, in our tie back to the Star Wars Time show, Mark Hamill has a starring role. And he's great. Like Mark is fantastic in this role. You can see why he became such a big player in the voice acting, because he kind of changes his voice for it. And honestly, here's the funny part, Nick. I'm watching this with Heather, and she's not really paying attention because she's not a huge fan of horror. But she goes, "Man, that guy really sounds like old Luke Skywalker." I was like, "Yeah, you think so?"
Wow, nailed it.
I was like, "You think so?" I was like, "Look up." And I go, "That is old Luke Skywalker." And she's like, "Holy shit." So anyways, Hamill's fantastic. He plays a kick-ass, kind of like a fixer, if you will, for a very, very rich corporation and family in particular. And I will say, Nick, this was a fantastic series. They kind of kept the mystery intrigue going from episode 1 all the way to episode 8, because while you're sitting there and you're like, okay, I can kind of see where things are going, and I kind of have an idea why this family is going through some hard times, but they don't really even give you that until the last episode. So they kind of keep dragging you along. It's got some, I don't like paranormal shit to it, if you will. It's got some weird rich people, shady shit to it. Some business maneuverings. It's not Succession, but a little Succession, with some paranormal activity. So even though Bill here is saying it's fucking terrible, he's wrong. All right? I'll tell you right now. That opinion is bad, so listen to mine. It's worth watching for Hamill alone if you're a true diehard Star Wars fan. But I thought it was good storytelling, and so much so that I am now going to go back and finally start watching all this Flanagan shit on Netflix, because clearly the dude has some talent if they're giving him a yearly deal to essentially drop an 8 to 10 episode long series. Thank you.
Yeah. Big thank you to BMAD in the chat for the donation.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Hold on, let's pin that shit. What's he? I want to know why Matt's still not giving Rots respect for being. Oh fuck! You really want to get into this?
Now you're really gonna start to fire him.
Well, I know what it is, Nick, and I don't know if BMAD has also crossed over to Beyond the Dune Sea like some people we did, and maybe I shouldn't have told our fans to Exodus, but the past week they've gone hardcore on their love of Rots and how it's the greatest Star Wars movie of all time. And while I will say I am a fan of their show, I do like Connor and Seth. They're showing their age with that.
They're just much younger.
Yeah, I mean, they're a different generation than us, like Be Mad and all you people. And I've tried to get better at down talking those prequel fans that think Rots is God's gift to Star Wars. It's not. It's absolutely not. It never will be. It never can be. That's Return of the Jedi, or Empire, if you will. I mean, let's be real. Revenge of the Sith it's a bunch of visually pleasing, narratively toilet water based bullshit. Okay. It might look cool. So when you're little and you're like, oh, look at all that shit, it convinced you that it was better than it was. But the story is fucking hot garbage. The fact that we've needed 7 seasons of the Clone Wars to flesh out the character of Anakin Skywalker, not the Padawan, but Anakin Skywalker, the Jedi Knight, to truly see like how he could slide to the dark side is why ROTS is not the best Star Wars movie. Like without the Clone Wars backstory, and if you were in my generation, you watch Revenge of the Sith and you come out going, wow, that was the weakest and most pathetic way to portray Anakin Skywalker's turn to the dark side. He literally in 30 seconds in a scene goes from wanting to arrest Palpatine to slashing off Mace Windu's arm, which he should have because Mace is a dickhead and the main reason Anakin turned, to getting on his knees and whimpering like a baby. All right? Horse shit. Horse shit! There was nothing in ROTS that teased the turn. Attack of the Clones had more hints at Anakin's darkness than Revenge of the fucking Sith. All right? So go ahead and slide another 5 over. I've given you the answer. There is no arguing it. That is the truth. Okay? The best prequel movie, hands down, no questions. Ask Sir Dork is The Phantom Menace. Thank you.
I think that like the biggest thing that you can say about ROTS now, and this kind of goes for anything, is like everything's always better when you have more context given to it. And like you said, now that the entire Clone Wars is out and you can watch it like readily available and everything like that, that movie is just a lot better than what it was before. But in a vacuum, it is like there are a lot of issues in the prequel trilogy with like acting and stuff, but there are some like really bad acting moments in there. There's some, bad CGI in there too. It is what it is. And like, I think that ultimately, like in terms of like climactic battles from prequels and stuff like that, visually, I think that the Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight is very good. It's not as cool as the Duel of Fates from episode 1, but it's better than anything in episode 2. So, I mean, like, I don't know. It's just like...
Hey, here you go, Nick. B-Mad's proving my point. Just like you said. Kenobi versus Anakin and ROTS is best... Oh, yeah. It's a visually pleasing movie. I understand that, especially for you younger people that were in your, 1s to 10s when you watched it. But I went into it at what, fucking 25 after sitting through the other prequels and pretending like, okay, you're sort of paying off on what I was expecting. And no, it just, no. Yes, the opening montage, great. Doom, 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 doom. Watching them in there, and then they get into the cheesy dialogue, and then they get into the Grievous as shit, more cheesy dialogue. Yeah, Anakin and Obi-Wan look great working together. You can tell they're friends, and they're best buddies, and they'll help each other, and they complement each other. That takes like 50 minutes of the movie, and then you're into the dumb shit. Like the poor acting between Hayden and Natalie, and it just
the one thing about that movie is, for me at least, is that it's paced better than all the rest of the prequels. Like there's a certain point in that movie, and it's like right when, like for me, it's right when Obi-Wan gets to Utapau, the movie just flows from there. Like everything moves very easily, and there's no like start stops, there's no like awkward like pauses in the narrative being told. Like once they separate and Obi's on Utapau and then Anakin's still back on Coruscant, I think the movie flows very well.
Hey, well, yeah, that's only an hour and a half in, so yeah, cool.
Yeah, like Attack of the Clones to me is unwatchable. In fact, I don't think I've watched Attack of the Clones all the way through in years.
Oh, dude, I'll take AOTC over ROTS any day just because of the visual fuckery that it provides. That's it.
It's the worst. It's one of the worst movies that's been like made for that amount of money. It's truly.
I'm the one that's really down on ROTS. I would imagine ROTS is Nick's favorite prequel. Like, I don't think he agrees with me that TPM takes the cake.
TPM is also one of those ones where it's like there's a lot of, and George himself said this, like TPM is a movie that contains roughly 20% of the entire prequel narrative, and it feels like that sometimes when you're watching it. It just feels slow, and it's like, but there's more to appreciate in that movie than there is in AOTC for sure.
Darth Maul,
and then
Qui-Gon Jinn,
and then
young Obi-Wan.
Yeah, exactly. So like, there's a lot of good stuff as that, but it was just
Trade Wars,
so
Nick.
slow.
All kids love fucking Trade Wars.
It was just so slow. But I don't really have, like, if you ask me like what my favorite prequel movie is like, I don't really have one because I don't really watch them all that much. Like, the prequels to me are like, I understand the story of them to a degree to where it's like,
you're good.
I didn't even show those to Taylor, honestly. Like, we went through and we watched all the originals. We watched all the sequel trilogy movies. We watched Rogue One and we watched Solo. And I literally told her, I was like, look, we can watch the prequels, but you're not going to like them. So I just skipped them altogether.
Well, Nick, that's a little gaslighting. You should let Taylor make up her own mind there.
Look, I had to struggle to get her
I know. It's like
you
you essentially have to, put her in handcuffs and a ball and chain and tie her to the couch. I'm just kidding. All right. Yeah, I mean, anyways, this is what I'm talking about, people. Like, if this is the shit you want, let's get those teed up. Either drop them in Discord or find a way to get them to me. If Nick and I keep going here, we're going to end up doing a 4-hour show. And as much as I love just natural tangents, I would rather save this for a prepared episode, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I'm be mad, love you, buddy. Like, listen, you got to remember, we're just giving opinions. I don't really think you're that stupid because you love Revenge of the Sith. But this is exactly what I'm asking for. So kick ass on Be Mad for kind of charging us into this. But I could sit here and talk about why the prequels aren't that great all day long. In fact, those that don't feel like waiting, I think I have a 20-minute opus on the Star Wars Time YouTube channel from a few years back, and where I really outline why TPM is the best and ROTS is not. Okay, and there's been a lot of growth. Be Mad. I know you're one of our newer fans here, but I think you can ask some of the dogs that have been around for a while. I've gotten a lot better, and the season 7 of the Clone Wars has helped. The Clone Wars in general has helped. Obviously, seeing Hayden again in live action, what happened in Ahsoka, all that makes it a bit better. It's just going to be hard for the 25-year-old Matt, who going into the prequels only wanted to see how Darth Vader became Darth Vader, and I just don't feel like that mission was accomplished well at all in the films. If you do like Bat's saying here, if you go find that 4.5-hour fan cut that they've made where it like loops in key moments from the Clone Wars, this, that, and the other thing, sure, but that's my point. If you need an almost 5-hour cut of a film to make it feel like it probably should have the first time and tell the story it should have the first time, therein lies the problem with Revenge of the Sith.
Which is exactly what happened with the Snyderverse.
There you go. This guy's a fucking genius. He said it in one line what I've been trying to say. You don't see 4-hour cuts of A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, do you? Yeah. No, because they're fucking excellent. They're legendary. Perfection. All right, what's Mando Pride? Mando Pride. Oh, ugh. You guys got my gum slapping around already. I love it. Yeah, let's get the cortisol levels up. Mando Pyre. I grew up with the prequels, but I do agree that there were bad moments in the movies. Seeing Stacey Teen, Eve Koth, and Kit Fisto. Oh my God, I am the Senate. Like, come on. I mean, where do all Star Wars memes basically come from? The prequels with Anakin or the Senate, literally. We now call Emperor Palpatine the Senate because of that scene. Not because it's cool, because it's slapdick shit. Even Nick Gallard's like, yeah, that fucking, listen, I love George, but he fucked all that up. All that shit up. Even the early battles with Kenobi and the droids was all fucked up because George one day is like, hey, you know what? I know we rehearsed this and planned for it. It was going to look fucking great, but hey, fuck it. Cut it. No. We need to talk about more trade disputes. All right. Thank you, everyone. Love you. Okay. Well, I think that gets us out of pop culture talk, right, Nick? Let's get into...
I think we can move into
some Acolyte stuff.
Special topic now.
Well, real quick on the Acolyte. For those who are pretending that we may see this over the next 12 months, because I'm with Nick. I would imagine this, or maybe next week, will be the last weeks that the actors and the studios will even consider negotiations, because then holiday season ramps up. No one's going to deal with that shit. So if it does extend into 24, you're looking at probably another 2 or 3 months before they get the shit figured out, if they do. And even then, these companies are now going to want the time to re-ramp up the hype machines. So it's not like, oh, hey, deal signed, Skeleton Crew releasing tomorrow. Everything, I mean, this, right, Nick, it's going to be a domino effect. But we don't know when the lead domino is going to fall. Until it does, we're just in a holding pattern. So we do have a little news on the Acolyte that may, may interest people or maybe give people more hope. Because I know a lot of people were down on the Acolyte. They don't like Leslie Headland. I don't know why. Maybe because she's a they, something like that. She's a woman. You never know in Star Wars land. But we did get, from the WGA, Nick, the Writers Guild of America, they did release the full writing credits for the Acolyte. And I was kind of surprised to find that it's not just Leslie. All right. Leslie, I mean, she is the showrunner, series creator, and she is the sole writer on episode 1. But as we move through the episodes, there are some other names that, we're not going to know their names. They're not household names. They're writers, but you're going to know what they fucking worked on. And maybe that will give you some insights into what to expect. What type of writing will we be getting at? And one of the first new writers for the Acolyte is, is Jason Milcalef and Charmaine DeGrade. First and foremost, I don't know if that's that person's actual birth name. If it is, kudos to their fucking parents, all right? To have the foresight to name your kid Charmaine D. Great. That's excellent. All right, anyways, these two are the co-writers of episode 2. This Jason guy, some people may know him from Butter with Garner and Jackman. Nick's looking at me like, what the fuck? And I felt the same way. I love Jennifer Garner. Never heard of that project.
No, never.
He also did a short film called Marcel. Another one of Nick's favorites and recommendations. Apparently that was on Paramount Plus. But hey, if you're sitting there, okay, Matt, you're not really making us feel good with this Jason guy. Don't worry. Here comes Charmaine. So Charmaine did 10 episodes of Daisy Jones and the Six, which I've heard was a pretty damn good series. At least my boy Howard Stern said so. And they worked on 10 episodes, so the full season of House of the Dragon. And I know Nick hated that, but I think a lot of other people dug the series. I got into it. I was all wrapped up into it. So Nick, seeing we're getting Charmaine here, not only with the kick-ass name, but also with some beefy credits with big franchises, I think that makes me feel pretty good,
Yeah, I mean, I guess if she, I
also did 44 of the 100. Did you ever watch the 100? It always looked interesting to me, but I never got into it.
The 100, I think I may have seen some of that.
It's like humanity was up in space and they realized like, oh, the planet may be hospital, but let's send kids first.
Oh yeah.
There's like 100 kids sent down. It's kind of like sci-fi Lord of the Flies, I think.
Gotcha. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the House of the Dragon thing means nothing to me. Like you said, Taylor really liked Daisy Jones, so I think that holds a little bit more weight.
Experience,
to me
if anything, right? Like this Charmaine character's been doing this.
Yeah, so that's good experience on her side for sure. All and then the Jason guy.
Yeah, exactly, Jason guy. So episode 3 here, we have another writing team up. And I don't know. I mean, Nick, how are you? Do you like, at least in TV series, do you like having a big writer's room and writers kind of get episodes, or would you prefer a singular voice in a series like this?
I mean, it depends on the type of thing. I think for like comedic shows, it's a lot better to have like multiple points of input.
Okay.
But I like for stuff like this, I'd be fine if it wasn't as fleshed out, because it does feel like every one of these episodes in a Star Wars TV show like this is kind of like an individual project to itself. So I like it. It really doesn't make that much of a difference to me if there's multiple or not. But I would be upset if it was like, if it was like Ahsoka, where it was basically like Filoni just did the whole thing. Like, that doesn't bother me in Star Wars.
Got you. All right. So episode 3, like I said, we have Jasmine Flournoy and Eileen Shim. Flournoy did a little turn on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so that's not going to make Nick feel any better.
I like that show.
Okay, well, hey,
that was one of the last pieces of Marvel content that I actually watched.
You never know. This person also worked on Truth Be Told with Ron Perlman, Hand of God, Heathers, Shim, also House of Dragon, specifically the Lure of the Tides episode, which apparently Nick was met with critical acclaim. Who's back? Who are these guys talking about in the chat? According to Mando Pirate, the 100's a piece of shit. So I guess.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, I watched.
Thanks for saving me time there, Mando Pirate. I guess I don't need to watch that shit.
Yeah, I watched a couple of seasons of it, but not enough to like really get into.
Bat's back. Okay, there I got it.
Oh, the actual Bat.
Okay, Bat. I'll tell you what, man.
Account.
I can't get behind this comment. Loki season 2 is great. Loki season 2, I'm not fucking around. And maybe I'm brain dead or something. But until episode 5, I was just going, what is the fucking point of this series? Period. Like, what is the point of this show? You have so much talent on that fucking series. It just feels like they lit it all on fire. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to watch it till the end, but literally until episode 5 here, which I think is the penultimate of the season, Nick, I was like, what? But hey, to each their own.
Hey,
I mean,
you're
like
using
I said,
Disney Plus way more than me.
If it
because
makes
honestly,
Bat happy, it makes me
the only thing that I
happy.
use it for at this point is Goosebumps.
Got you.
That's it.
Yeah, I try to check in. Charlie gets on my profile now because the Disney child profile it's almost like it's ran by the religious right. I mean, you literally you can't watch anything. Like even kids' cartoons aren't allowed on Disney Kids. Yeah, Bat. I'm sorry. Like maybe after I watch the finale, we'll talk more about it on here. But Loki, as much as I wanted to love it because I love the first season, I think the second season is just fucking hot garbage. But you never know. Maybe 5 and 6 will be enough to redeem the whole thing for me. Okay, back to the Acolyte. Episode 4, going back to a singular writer, Claire Kichef, who worked on HBO's Watchmen, which I thought was pretty legit, and a single shot of Netflix's The Oa. Apparently she also did some work, Nick, on Mr. Robot and The Imperfects too.
Never seen The Imperfects. I didn't watch all of Mr. Robot, but I saw some of it, and then saw some of The Watchmen, but didn't finish that either.
Okay, 5, we have even more new people. Core Adana. I mean, if anything, Nick, it sounds like the writing room of the Acolyte are Star Wars characters themselves, right?
Yeah,
Charmaine the Great, Core Adana. I mean, it's fantastic here. So episode 5, like I said, we got Core Adana, Cameron Squires. Squires worked on Agent Elvis, which was the Matthew McConaughey animated, really crazy Elvis series on Netflix. And also did Final Space and a little bit of WandaVision action between those two. So, right, you're looking up, Nick. I know you like the little WandaVision. You like the little Captain America, Winter Soldier. Things are going on.
WandaVision was probably the best Marvel TV series.
All right, so
ever.
Episode 6, we're back to Jason Milcalef, but now Jocelyn Bio joins him, and Bio helped write on Leslie's Russian Dolls, which I thought was really good too, although second season definitely not as good as the first. Episode 7, we're going up to 3 on this one, Nick, so I don't know, maybe we got some big shit going on episode 7 of The Acolyte, but Charmaine's coming back, Jasmine's coming back, and now we're adding Jen Richards, who not only acts but also wrote a single episode of the TV series Threads, whatever the fuck that is.
Short film, there you are. TV series. I don't know. Like, it seems like Leslie has a good room of people around her, I guess. Like, I don't know. Like, well, there's not anybody on here who's like written anything that's like so mind-bendingly good that I'm like, oh my god, that particular episode is going to be good. Like, they all seem like they've got some experience, and they all seem like they've, put some stuff out there. But I mean, well, hey, in terms of like,
you lean on your network, right? She's leaning on her network. We all do. I try to teach my students this. They're about to graduate. Like, listen, I don't care how fucking smart you are with your technical skills. If you don't have a network, you don't know how to talk to other humans, you are kneecapping yourself in life, especially in IT. You can be the best fucking program on the planet. If you can't talk about your ideas to normal humans, you're going to get locked in a room and just be a code machine the rest of your life. All right? Nova's saying if the leaked Acolyte trailer is real, it looks sick as fuck. Nova, if you're talking about the one from Celebration, it is 100% legit. Okay? They did show... it wasn't B-roll. It's kind of like what they did for Ahsoka. If you went to Celebration this year, you kind of got a special look that us plebes eventually got to see. But yeah, it was real footage, and I did get to see it week 1 during Celebration, and it is very promising. Like, you've got the dude, what's his name, from Squid Games. He's in there talking like Jedi, and I've said this. I think the Acolyte could be one of the greatest Star Wars properties of all time if done correctly, because it's going to finally give the bad guys the starring turn. Like it's also in an era that is untouched by the Skywalkers, even, Nick. Like, we talk about Mandoverse. Oh, they got all this time to play with. Well, we've identified over the past 3 weeks that even though they've said that, we got 40 years. Well, what'd you do? You immediately looped in the Skywalkers, which you kind of have to do. So it is still a part of the Skywalker saga, where the Acolyte is completely separate, completely broken free. The only slight attachment possibly could be Yoda if he shows up.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what Star Wars has needed for a while, is just like a break from the Skywalker narrative. And I know that that's what a lot of people's fandoms are built off of, and I know that that's what a lot of people want to see is like continuation for Skywalker sometimes. But I think it's healthy to have a whole series that's going to be built around a time period where it's not even possible for Skywalkers to get involved, as far as we would know. Like, if unless you bring in like Shmi Skywalker's great grandfather or something like that. Like, I don't know how that would even be.
Shmecky Skywalker.
Yeah, like what would be useful about that? But I do think that, given its content, like focusing more on the rise of darkness in the galaxy, and like how we go from, like Obi-Wan had said to Luke, 1,000 years of peace. Under the stewardship of the Grand Republic, and then all of a sudden, boom! It just comes down, and it seems like the come down happens so quickly.
Well, I think that's what Leslie has said, Nick. She's like, listen, my goal here is to show you how within less than 80 years, like Nick said, the Sith, the dark side, was able to crumble that long reign of the light. She's like, I'm pretty sure the goal of this show is to highlight to us all, like, oh yeah, well, that's how the Grand Republic allowed this bullshit to happen, because the Jedi were all up there essentially sucking each other's dicks. Yeah, like, you're awesome. No, really... you're awesome. You're the awesomest. Let me see it. Let me look at your lightsaber. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it is going to be interesting to see like how they play it, because there's so much opportunity to bring in, like legacy characters. Like, are you going to already introduce, Plagueis? Are you going to choose to introduce Plagueis?
Right.
Because previously in old canon, Plagueis didn't become like the Dark Lord of the Sith until probably, what is it, like, 20 years, maybe 30 years before TPM. So like that would be way further back than that time period. But like, bring in some of the old Sith Lords that like led up to the point to where Plagueis was, or like show how the Sith had been, starting to interweave political machinations into their scheming and stuff like that, and really kind of highlight, oh, this just didn't happen because Palpatine wanted to get into politics and that was how it was. It's like they actually that was a long tail plan from the Sith. Is like we have to be able to quietly infiltrate society in a way that when we rise up, there's not going to be like a lot of surprise, or there's not going to be a lot of resistance to what we're doing because we've already planted seeds of what we were doing, decades. If not
and what happened
ago.
with this plan, Nick? It worked flawlessly. Literally, a Sith Lord took over the entire galaxy by having the galaxy give him the galaxy.
Exactly. Like willingly handed over the reins.
He didn't have to do shit. He didn't have to lift a finger. All he had to do was talk.
Yeah.
The right whispers, and you could see how that echoed throughout time. And Nick, you're spot on. I mean, Acolyte, I believe, is 80 years before TPM. Plagueis 100% is in play because he was Sidious's master. So we know that he was around when Sidious was younger, up through his 20s, whatever, until he decided to kill him. I don't think Sidious is in it, but Plagueis most definitely has potential. And I think Nick is spot on. It's not going to be some crazy in-your-face takeover. It can't be. It is going to be very stealth and almost feel like it's just what's supposed to be. Like, as he said, hey, maybe we get one of these acolytes into the Senate, or maybe they are in the Jedi Order itself. You just don't know. And I think that's where the Acolyte just, I don't know. To me, it has a ton of potential to just be like, whoa, wow. All right. It's Star Wars, but it feels so much different.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's potential. There's a lot of potential. I mean, Darth Tenebris is another one that they could bring in, who is old. That was Plagueis' master. So, like, you could bring him in, and he's already like,
maybe Plagueis is an apprentice at this point, right, Nick? Maybe.
Yeah, so.
I like here, Nova kind of caught on to what you're saying. Acolyte spoiler. Shmi Skywalker's great-great-grandfather was a Palpatine. What a twist.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think that there's so many, like, for people who are interested in, like, the EU previously, where there was like this, you could almost follow like an unbroken line of Sith especially from Darth Bane forward. Like this gives you the opportunity to kind of reestablish some of those names and faces and really put a plan together for how everything happens in the prequel trilogy. Like how did we get to the point to where a Sith Lord is able to infiltrate?
That is interesting because they essentially were so bad at this that they just quit and went away, and it really took Palpatine to figure out the secret sauce. So maybe, Nick, we still see how they were failing in their endeavors, right? Because it literally took Palpatine to do this. He was the only one. I mean, the Sith were never able to beat the Jedi until Palpatine. Yeah,
and I really want to see the explanation behind it because
I'm down.
The Plagueis book is not canon. Like I've been reading that and I think it's super interesting, and they have like a lot of really
the rule of two would exist by now, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. The rule of two went into existence with Bane, so that was like 1,000 years before. So
you got to
TPM.
figure, Nick. Even if they adhered to that, it was still they would get too caught up in their own power grab, is what I'm assuming, right?
Oh yeah, and like just like the rule, just like in canon Star Wars, like there's a rule of two, but like you have an apprentice on the side because your ultimate goal is to try to
they always do
knock off
Vader was doing
guy.
it, Maul was going to do it, so yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like they were always so caught up in I got to be the man that they couldn't focus on the big picture, and then Palpatine, for whatever reason, was the one to finally break free of that nonsense. Maybe because he just murdered the guy and was like, yeah, I'm the guy now, and I'm not taking on a sub guy until I am ready. And he brings in Maul and then Dooku and then obviously Anakin. But yeah, that's super interesting. Like what is it something that Palpatine read? Was he taught, or was he just wired a different way to where he knew to ultimately achieve the power and to let the Sith rule the galaxy, that it was going to take a lot more politicking than Sithing, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean that was definitely, at least from the Plagueis book, like that was Plagueis's mindset, was like because Plagueis was a banking clan administrator. Like he ran the banking clan, and he was the one who started, like who was like orchestrated the trade dispute between between Naboo and the Trade Federation. Like there were a lot of things that happened, like political machination wise.
So there you go.
In that book, that like Plagueis was responsible.
So Palpy essentially stole the roadmap from Plagueis.
Yeah, like Plagueis brought.
He showed him. He's
in.
like, no, listen, we got to get into positions of power. I'm in the banking clan. Yeah. You think about, you're Naboo royalty. You think about getting in the Senate maybe. And then Sidious is like, hey, what do I need you for? I'll just do this on my own.
Yeah, I mean, it was really interesting to get into that book and see how things like that.
And clearly, we're not going to see that stuff in the Acolyte. I think what Nick is saying, what I'm hoping for, is that we may even see more rudimentary Sith plans in the Acolyte.
Yeah,
like not quite that refined. Still, like Nick's more the EU, all that, SWTOR and all that. But to me, looking at this motherfucker right here. Darth Malgus. I don't think Darth Malgus was sitting around going, hey, how can I infiltrate the Senate, or how can I be in the banking clan? I think he was like, fucking fly me somewhere and let me kill motherfuckers to convince them of my ways, right? I mean, that
was how things definitely went back then, for sure.
Gotcha. Nova's killing it today. Here's another good one. Palpatine, how can I be the most evil Sith to ever live? Become a politician. Very good. Very good. All right, Travis Mitchell has one here for you, Nick. The Acolytes of the Beyond in the new EU use masks to live inside of and possess the person wearing them, which would be great to see in this series. Hey, you never know. Was that Darth Homan that got into passing their essence into an object because they couldn't become ghosts? Yeah,
I think in canon, I know that was one of the first people to do it. Right. Was Momin. I think it was Momin. Yeah. I think you're right about that. But yeah, I mean, I think it was. Didn't that happen in one of the comics too? With the spirit.
Yeah, it's in a face mask. It almost for some reason I'm thinking it's not Revan's face mask, but I think it looks similar to that. But yeah, it was some sort of mask that was still possessed. All right. So here's the deal, people. If you're paying attention, we've got our special topic on deck here. All right, making good time. Remember, it's the best special edition edits and the worst special edition edits. Anyone listening live have a preference for which angle we tackle first? I'll give you a few seconds as I read through some of the chat here. Nick, you have a preference here? I know you were incredulous to there could be any best edits for the special editions. Yeah. You want to start there?
I mean, we can do the best first, and then we can go
there's probably more discussions and worse, so we'll start with the best. So if you're new here, you're just joining up. I see we got Travis Mitchell's in there. Welcome. Who else showed up? Mando Pirate. Holy shit. Spa Spencer. Taking a break from dad duty to watch the boys today. Welcome, everyone. We love you. Don't
worst first, best because it's going to be quick, says Bat.
Yeah, all right. All right, we'll do the best first. Why not? But we're like I said, we need to start doing special topics. Cheers to Be Mad for kind of teasing another one we might get into. Matt's and Nick's takes on Rot. That seems to be something the fans want to hear. But go ahead.
I'm just going to put this out here too, straight up. The thing that I've seen the most is the 97 post special edition stuff. So I'm probably not going to remember what the original looked like.
Oh, bro, there was I found a bullet point list. Dude, there were so many minuscule changes that no one would ever notice. So we're really just focusing on like the jarring shit, if you will.
Yeah.
Here with Ben Bardo. Ding dong, Ben Bardo. Who's Luke's father? Luke's father is It's technically Palpatine's Force Essence semen. Well, no, that'd be his grandfather, right? You never know these days with the comics. Shit gets a little squirrely. Remember there was like a dream where Palpatine essentially like shot Force ether into Shmi's vagina, and that may or may not be how the... That
would be Luke's grandpa. So maybe he is. Maybe Palpatine is Luke's grandpa.
I want Matt to do an Obi-Wan rant. I don't know if I have anything to bitch about with Obi-Wan. Like,
no, yeah, you've never had.
I'm
like
kind of cool with Obi-Wan. I mean, he's a fuck up too, just like everyone else. I mean, Yoda's a fuck up. Obi-Wan's a fuck up. Luke's a fuck up. Anakin's a fuck up. I mean, if you think about it, they're all fuck ups. The only one that wasn't a fuck up in that line was Qui-Gon Jinn. Really, if you think about it. I mean, he's the only one with a fuck up. He just got by a dude with sweet face tattoos. All right, so the fans have asked for the best, so here we go. Look at that. I even made an online fucking slide deck with my rudimentary Adobe Express skills. That's how much I love you all and want to provide content on a weekly basis. So sub up, you motherfuckers, and start sharing our content. If we could get some of our diehards to kind of participate, share the love, like I've seen Beyond's crew doing now. Again, shout out to Beyond the Dune Sea. Their pre-show little skits are excellent if you're into Star Wars and fans talking about Star Wars. But I will tell you, their fandom is a little more keyed up than our fandom. That's all I'm going to say. All right, here we go. You did a whole thing about how he was wrong. He is. Obi-Wan was wrong. He told us that. He failed Anakin. He told him right that on the banks of the Mustafarian River. All right. Best edits, Nick. As I kind of teased, these are mostly visual enhancements, scene extensions. I wouldn't really say anything narratively was enhanced with these edits, but I'm starting off when we hit Tatooine in A New Hope, and instead of just literally a do-back structure that sat there, we got some moving do-backs. We got a few more troopers. It added a bit more to the search for the droids. Okay, you got a little more visual flair added to the scene, a few more elements to look at, and it didn't just feel like the Empire was working on a budget and sent down like a stormtrooper to go look for this shit. So there's where we're at. Okay. Yes, we do distribute on Pandora. 100%. So you can always get the show on Pandora free of charge, just like everything else we do. If you are in the live stream and you feel like donating to the show, we now have the super chats. We need to see if anyone's going to beat Carver Tate from last week with his $60 in donations. He is fan number one. He might have gotten kicked out of his house because he spent all his family's food money for the week, but we speak your name. All right, so that's best edit. You know what I mean? Did you like that? Like you said, you probably don't even remember the original New Hope, where it was just literally, I think, two stormtroopers going, "Hey, where the fuck the droids are?"
Yeah, I mean, like I had, and I don't even know if my parents still have them, but I had like the original trilogy. The only way that I had it prior to the special edition releases was like literally video, like video to video recording from my friend. Right. So it's just like on a VHS tape recorded. I mean, this one, like this kind of stuff doesn't bother me. If it's not like a prominent piece of the scenery, it's just like put in the background to be like, okay, just fill the space, like not assault.
And I really don't want to spoil this part of the segment, but that's pretty much every best edit is just some scenery enhancement that George got to sprinkle in once his computers worked a little bit harder than they did back in the 70s and 80s. So starting up there, Travis, don't worry. Well, I guess I'll tease your comment, but the Hayden Force Ghost is definitely in the worst edits. Sorry to disappoint you, and I'll explain why. All right. Up next, Nick, we're sticking with A New Hope here. Again, a nice CG enhancement, but we got a new landscape sprawling shot of the Jawa Sandcrawler, which did not exist prior. It just, it adds more to the visuals of the film. helps let the the watchers know, like, hey, this is where we're walking. The whipping, they might be small in stature, but they make up for it in the size of their vehicles. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that one in particular is actually kind of important because it puts into perspective the scale of the walker. Because I mean, you kind of see it when you first get the lineup of the droids, that, you know, like when they're in front of the Skywalker family ranch and stuff like that. But like this gives you like a bigger visual perspective and like how it looks on the landscape, not just like how it is.
Yeah, like I said, hey, it visually looked better, and it's really where a lot of these are at. I need to let Travis know that he's not going to like the worst list here. All right, yeah. So hey, I think so far so good, right? Here's another one, and this is a little one that I don't know if many people would pick up on, but I'm a goofball. But when R2 is hiding, Nick, after Luke gets beat down, originally it's like, dude, where you're literally hiding out in the open. Like, yeah, you might be under some rocks, but you're just there. And they realize that too, and they eventually splice some more rocks in there to make it look like R2 truly was like almost in a cave.
But now I'm wondering, how did he get in there? Because if you look at the base of the rock, he doesn't fit. Like he's not going to be like, we know how he flies. Like he flies in a relatively clunky manner. So like it's not like he can thread the needle and fly right through the potentially one spot that he can get in. Now he literally, there's no way for him to have gotten in there. It actually,
you're not wrong. So yeah, maybe should be in a middle. This is kind of a tweener here.
Yeah, this is an edit.
But yeah, now that you make perfect sense, I am looking at this like, you know what? He's not wrong. This actually breaks continuity even more than if R2 is just hanging out in the open. So
it's like, at least if because I think I remember like the whole point of it was in the original is like he was tucked back into
tucked
this
away.
cave,
He's tucked
and then
away.
he like kind of moves forward when he hears Obi-Wan's voice. He's like, oh, there's somebody here who's not trying to kill me. Like, this makes it look like... honestly, I don't even know how this is physically possible for this droid to have gotten in that spot.
I like this. I'm glad Nick picked up on that, because my dumb ass was like, hey, yeah, I guess it makes more sense. But now if you really look at it, you have to wonder physically how our little rust bucket could get his rotund little body in there. I don't think a lot of people realize how big R2-D2 really is. The only reason, he's fucking huge. Like, he's not tall, but he is big. And I didn't even realize it until I got the 1/6 scale version of him, Nick. And I put him next to the other. I'm like, fuck, man. Like, you are a mini tank if you really think about it. So, I don't know how he shimmied in there, but there you go. It made the list.
If you've ever, you can see like 1-to-1 size ones in like Disney and stuff like that. Those things, they're
big.
They're clunky. Like they're not easy to get around.
I mean, you gotta remember, a little person had to essentially live in that fucking thing.
Yeah. Like, so fit in there and operated it. So.
I mean, he's at least 4 foot tall minimum, and diameter is way, way larger than you would think. Oh well. Crazy. You can't win them all, Nick. I agree that probably should have been in the worst edit. Sorry about that one. I didn't really think about physics when it came to this.
All good.
Okay. All right, up next here, another visual. But if you remember, we in the special edition when we were coming up to Obi's hovel, it's more of a pulled out angular shot, and you can see that they actually moved the land speeder there instead of just not having it. So, you know, little bit of continuity. Again, some visual flair to help kind of flesh out Tatooine a bit more, show off a bit more of Obi's property, and to kind of keep the, like, well, they did have a land speeder. Where the fuck did it go type of thing.
Yeah, it's like, how did this get lost? So, but yeah, that one's not
visual.
Bad.
Guess what? This one's visual too. Mos Eisley got a lot more fleshed out. You didn't have any of this. If you're on the live stream, which by the way, we do it, well, these days, Tuesdays, 5 p. East, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. But Mos Eisley really got a lot of CG upgrades that helped even for 97. It showed you, you know, how big this little Mos was. Is that what they're called? Moses on Tatooine?
Yeah.
Mos Pelgos, Mos Espa, Mos Eisley.
I think with this one, there is one, like, I think that the general, like, the scene that you have put up here, like the wide shot showing kind of the setup of the spaceport and the city that's attached to it is nice. But at a certain point in this scene, that big ass, I don't even know what it is.
Ronto?
That big ass thing.
The Ronto?
Yeah. With the shit on its back. Like,
with the Jawas like hanging off it.
Literally walks in front of the camera.
Oh yeah,
and takes up the whole fucking camera, and then it like does this rear up shit, and I'm like, why is like you didn't have to do that. Like, that was really annoying.
You got to remember, man, this was George literally wanting to blow his load because Steven beat him to a big time CG movie. Like, he saw Jurassic Park, like, fuck you, Spielberg. You're using my guys to do this. I wanted to do it first, so I'm going to do these special editions and just cram a fucking Ronto dinosaur in there just to show you I can do it too. You're right. I forgot about that one.
It was just like, it was so annoying too, because when it walks in front of the camera,
it's the whole frame.
It takes the whole frame, and I was like, dude, if you were filming this in real life and something like that happened, you'd be like, take it again.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? You walked right in front of the camera. But he chooses to do that in the special edition. Like,
you are right.
No idea why I did it. But the overall look.
Yeah, like Bat said, there's a little droid fight. The Jawa and Ronto, not, framing was off. Even when they're pulling into Mos Eisley, you get a shot of the land speeder. They fixed the janky shadow. So some nice upgrades to Mos Eisley. One that I do appreciate, Nick, is they kind of extend and enhance the Millennium Falcon escape in these subsequent edited editions of A New Hope. You actually get to see it lift off from the hangar bay and kind of take off. Instead, it cut to a shot of two stormtroopers, and you just saw like the lights, like the rear lights go out. That was it. So it added a bit more to that escape, to that little hangar battle in A New Hope. Goddamn heat came on, piece of shit. Hold on. Next one here, my friends. Visual, but this one was bad. And I'm talking about the duel between Kenobi and Vader. And if you're my generation, before the special edition, even in the special editions, I still think they had Kenobi's saber fading out because of the camera angle was not allowing the reflector tape to actually catch and reflect the light. Right, Nick, at times it looked like he was holding a fencing saber.
It did. That's what I was going to say. That was my biggest gripe about the pre-special edition stuff, was that this lightsaber battle, because of how he's spinning it in his hand, like he's just doing like little circles with it, and it cuts out, and like there were like seconds or frames where it's like it's gone. You don't see anything.
No, dude. When I was a kid, I know no shit. I was like, well, maybe he put it out. It's like he whipped it around too much and he fucking put the light out. Like, that's how glaring it was. And then they go back to doing their tummy sticks together. But by now, I mean, this duel has gone through many edits. I mean, they first fixed the lightsaber flickering, but now I think in the 2019 version, Obi-Wan's got that nice blue modern saber look. Vader's never really flaked as much as Obi-Wan's in the originals. But both of them, the sabers have benefited from enhanced CGI here. Yeah.
They've definitely made them brighter. They were definitely a little dull in coloration last time, too.
Now, it would have been great if they used Phil, a stuntman I know. Like, he's the one that did the Scene 43 edit that, everyone jumped on. That would have been fucking awesome, but at least they fixed the lightsabers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next.
There we go, Travis. We finally got one for you. I agree with you on the Biggs scene being added on Yavin 4. That did kind of... It's a shame because Biggs really had a much larger role in this film. I mean, there's a whole cut sequence from Tatooine where Luke is literally with Biggs watching the fucking fight between his sister's ship and Vader's ship above him. And, talking about going to Tashi Station and all that shit. So when Luke's like, I want to go to Tashi. Well, they had that conversation before Uncle Owen was like, fuck you, drink your blue milk, you're my slave, bitch. But what we're talking about here is Yavin 4. You know, we already knew Biggs joined the rebellion, and he and Luke reunite. And it is, Nick, it does give a little bit of context into, all right, this Luke knows this dude. They're good friends, grew up together. Biggs is telling this guy, hey, he's the best fucking snub fighter, blah, blue, blee. And then it adds a little bit more to Biggs getting blasted there up in the battle. And we even got an earlier introduction to Gold Leader in this scene. I'm sorry, Red Leader.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this one
is probably the only narrative edit, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's like it gave important context in a situation where, like, you had this main character, well, like this big influence in Luke's life that was like called out. Like he said, you know, he talked about Biggs to Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen and stuff like, and then you never saw him. And well, I think you only saw him when Biggs went down. That was it. Like that was the only time you ever saw him.
Yeah, I mean,
original.
Yeah, cut. I mean, him and Luke. All the chatter was still going on there during the trench run, but you didn't really know that Luke and Biggs had a lifelong bond at all.
Yeah,
because you had the cut scene that we just talked about, and then this scene on Yavin 4 didn't exist either.
Yeah, I mean, this one is definitely one of the more needed scenes that was added in. So this is definitely a best for sure.
And by the way, I don't know if everyone remembers, but if you held on to your DVD releases that came out in 2004, I believe outside the VHS editions and maybe Laserdisc, those are the only way to still watch the unedited versions of Star Wars. They are rough as fuck. I mean, they're 640 by 480. 0 of the audio enhancements, 0 of the video enhancements, but they are raw. I mean, that's the shit us, 40-plussers were first watching. But they're still out there, and I would say that's probably the easiest digital format would be those old DVDs that came out when, like I said, they were getting ready to release the 6 trilogy on DVD for the first time. But yeah, Nick, I think this is the only best edit that actually involved a narrative change to the film.
Yeah, no, I mean, it should be. I mean, it is a welcome edit for sure to finally have more, at least a little bit more interaction between Biggs and Luke before Biggs eats.
Exactly. I mean, did you not feel like Luke and Wedge were closer during the Death Star attack than Luke and Biggs?
Yeah, and I mean, at the time, it kind of made sense because, Biggs was training at the, under Wedge to be a rebellion pilot. This is probably not Biggs's first mission, I would assume. And he probably spent, more substantial time, especially recently, with Wedge instead of with Luke, considering his training and everything else.
Hey, kind of a side question here. When in that deleted scene, Biggs, Luke, he's talking about going to the academy. Luke wants to enroll in the academy. This was the Imperial Academy, right? Like, Biggs initially was in the Empire.
Yeah,
and Luke wanted to go into the academy as well, because it's not like the rebellion had an academy.
No, yeah. No.
Okay, good. Because, I mean, they all did. I mean, Wedge was Imperial. Like, let's be real.
I say Wedge was an Imperial, so.
All right. Okay. Anyway, speaking of our lovely pilots here, I really like this enhanced scene when the rebels are leaving Yavin 4 to go confront the Death Star. You got an enhanced version of the fleet. You kind of had the moon back there, so you can see, like, holy shit, yeah, the Death Star is like right there. Like we got to get to it. But it's one of the nicer, more well done 90s CG edits to the Death Star trench run.
Yeah, I think it was needed in a way too, because you needed to show, you needed to have a scene or something showing the ships that matched the environment that they were in, and the original shot of that was just not good, and there weren't as many either. I think there was only 4 or 5 ships that were shown in the original version of this. So they really did need to kind of fill this scene out and make it make more sense, to where it's not okay, yeah, it's a small force, but it's not 5 people running at the Death Star trying to
because
fucking take
I
it down
believe, Nick, the
themselves.
original version of the scene, you only see like 2 X-wings, and it just cuts to we're getting ready to make the trench run. Like,
exactly. Like you don't get any sense of scope, like how many people are out there. So.
Travis Mitchell is saying that Red Leader was 36 in the movie but looks 50, and I agree. That is a nice little nugget. Thank you for that, Travis. Moving on. All right, we've moved out of A New Hope. A best edit from Empire, outside of obviously improving some of the visuals on the Battle of Hoth. Like you didn't see as much of the shadowing and some of the wonky wiping they were doing for the AT-ATs and chicken walkers. But I will say, I mean, the improved Wampa scenes were nice. Seeing Luke chop his arm off and then the Wampa going, "Oh, you motherfucker, you cut off my arm." You know, that added a little bit to it. I don't, maybe not narratively, but this Wampa looked a little bit better than the original costume, right? Looked a little...
Yeah. Look, it's definitely a better looking scene, and it was cool to see. Like, I don't think you, even in the original, like you only got like the close up of him like coming at Luke, and then that was it.
And they just Luke's like literally falling down out of the hill.
Yeah, he's just like running away the whole time.
Nick,
like getting the full scope of the thing is actually pretty cool.
Speaking of full scope, I can't remember, did the original include the version where it kind of pans in and the Wampa sitting there chewing on the tauntaun, like you can hear him?
No, I don't think. I think that was added as well.
Yeah. So hey, here we go. Here's another one where It was some visuals, but also added a few more layers to that narrative of Luke being captured by the Wampa. So I guess we'll take it. We'll take it. Travis, we're getting there on Cloud City. All right, Nick, this one might be contentious because apparently some fans think some of the newer dialogue in this scene, and the scene I'm talking about is having Ian McDiarmid dubbed in for the Monkey Eye Emperor that was originally there. Now, you could argue that they literally filmed, this is Rot's Palpatine, like literally they did this filming Revenge of the Sith. So you lose a little bit of continuity between Empire Palpatine and Jedi Palpatine, but it does work better overall to have Ian there portraying the Emperor. What I want to ask you, Nick, and apparently this is a thing. I had to rewatch the scene today to make sure that I still process it the way I think I did. But in this scene, it's kind of implied that it's kind of implied that Vader doesn't know that Luke is his progeny, even though he knows he's a Skywalker. But if you listen to the conversation, the way I take it, it's two Sith testing each other about a topic that's very important to them, but also could lead to their destruction or one's rise to power. When they're essentially talking about, hey, Skywalker could be useful. Vader's like, yeah, let me go work on him a bit. But initially, some of the words said do make it seem like Vader didn't know that he had a son.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what that may have been more of is just like showing the disconnection between Darth Vader as a character and Anakin Skywalker as a character, where Vader in this moment doesn't look at Luke as a son. Like, and he doesn't look at Luke as a son until that moment that they first reach out to each other in ESB.
Well, when he's making his pitch is when he finally is like, listen, you're my fucking kid. I've accepted that. You should accept it, because if we team up, we can take over the galaxy.
Yeah, and I think like in this, it's just like Vader is separated from Anakin Skywalker completely, and it's just like this Skywalker person is just another tool that we could have at our disposal, or it could be the tool of our downfall, whatever. Right. So I don't know if it's like, I mean, that's the way that I always took it, is like when they're the son of Skywalker can't become a Jedi. It was with the understanding that like, yeah, this is your kid, but like you're not Anakin Skywalker anymore. You're Darth Vader. You don't have a son.
Yeah, you're with me then, but I guess I do understand where some people are kind of like, this doesn't make a ton of sense, because the way it just everyone go watch the fucking scene. I'm stupid. You know what I mean? Go watch the scene. Nick processed it correctly. That's all that matters. And I did too. I have no problem with it. I actually think it makes complete sense for the way Vader and Palpatine interact with each other, especially if you're a comic book reader these days. They're always fucking with each other. They're always sitting there looking in each other's eyes saying, yeah, you're my master. Yeah, you're my man. But in the back of their heads are going, how can I fuck you up? And that's like really how this scene to me feels. But it's the first time in Star Wars you ever get to see them interact. So it might not resonate that way the first time you see it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there was a lot of, again, like in the first time you see that scene, you have no fucking clue.
Correct.
I mean, like, you don't even know who Darth Vader is the first time you see that scene. Like, it has not been revealed that he was previously Anakin Skywalker yet, or that he's Luke's father. Like, that comes later in the movie.
That is right, man. Like, I'm sitting here, like, we're so used to knowing the big reveal, but when the scene was written, it had to be written in a way where the audience isn't getting the hand tipped to them. So it's written perfectly. So these assholes in the mainstream media that apparently didn't like this, the edit and some of the words they might have changed, you're fucking stupid. Nick solved it. Done.
It's like it was written in 1980 for an audience who didn't have 40 more years of Star Wars in front of them. So like, you can't just give it up and say, hey, you have to kill your son.
Right.
Like,
you're right.
You have to have to leave it to where the
dude. I can't believe I didn't put two and two together. But even though, I mean, the scene to me, like I said, it makes complete sense. But now that Nick reminded us all that, hey, by the way, dummies, the world didn't know the whole Skywalker thing until almost the end of this movie. So this scene and the way it is acted, the dialogue written, is actually perfect. So here we go.
Yeah,
just remember, listen to the Star Wars Time Show. No one else. Thank you. Okay. You know, we're going to deal with some Boba Fett edits here, and I know Travis doesn't like these, but the first one I'm going to start with, we'll see what Nick says. I do kind of like how they added in that he knew to hang back for any potential sticking your ship to other shit tricks that he saw as a young clone boy.
Yeah.
But again, there's people like, well, how did Han not see him? Hey, idiots. In space and ships, you don't have like fucking windows everywhere, and you can't see shit that's like parsecs away.
And then also they went, so like just for further explanation, like, yeah, there's no rear view mirror, but they also went sensors dark when they were hiding, so the ships couldn't pick up where they were. So like as soon as he comes off of the trash, he's still sensors dark because he's trying to stay as low profile as possible. So if he had his sensors on, yeah, he would have picked up that Boba Fett was behind him.
Correct.
But it would have also tipped off to the Empire that he's still fucking hanging around the debris field. So
yeah, like I said, I like it. What also I dig about this, Nick, is they added in the actual Slave One sounds from the prequels, where his ship didn't used to have that like like really chunky engine sound, almost like Sabalba's pod racer. So I like that too. And I think we're gonna stick with Boba Fett. And I know Travis is upset that what's his name isn't getting his due. The original voice of no, it's not even Jeremy Bullock. It's this
Bullock. Yeah, he was the body.
Yeah, Jason Wingreen apparently voiced Boba Fett initially, but really for continuity's sake and because the maker said, "Hey, Boba Fett's a fucking clone that came from this guy who sounds like this." So yes, Tem had to become Boba Fett and the voice. It just you gotta do what you gotta do.
Like the voice of Boba Fett, I think at that time, like it wasn't as important as the visage. Like I think like he only had like 3 spoken lines through the whole series.
Nick, don't rob him. It was 4.
4 spoken lines.
I mean, people were telling me he was like this biggest baddest ass motherfucker of the OT, and he was on screen for like a minute and had 4 lines and needed Darth Vader to do everything for him.
So yeah, I mean, I think that like
this is Bozo Fett, by the way, really? People. If you're new here, you ever see anyone like Bat throw up the Bozo Fett? That's him right there.
Yeah, I don't really mind. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I would have to go back to, I mean, they probably did the special edition voice re-edit for the post prequels run.
Correct.
Or
Yeah,
like
Nick. So
it's like 97 special edition still going to have it.
It would still have the original. You are correct. I think this came in the 2004-5 DVD release.
Yeah, so I'd have to go back and listen to it. But honestly, like at this point, I don't even really remember what his voice sounded like outside of Tim.
He's no good to me, dead. Kind of like that.
I mean, and it was modulated.
It's still modulated. Now it just has that Maori ting to it. It sounds like Django, like Boba, like Cody, like Rex, like fucking Wrecker, Hunter, Tech, Echo. Okay, we got it.
About the royalties that were redacted to the family due to that change. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that there was. I mean, it's crazy, that dude was getting royalties.
Hey,
from
SAG-AFTRA, bro.
Wars,
That's why you need to sign those contracts.
Like he signed a good deal. But yeah, I mean, I guess after a certain point too, like you don't own the creative edit of the film, and if they choose to not use your part anymore, in a situation like this, there's really nothing you can do.
You're no longer credited, so you ain't getting paid. But hey, that's business, all right? That probably wasn't George Lucas. You know, George is like, hey, I just want the fucking clone's voice in there. And the people are like, well, you're actually going to essentially put a family out on the street, George. Is like, that's not my fucking problem.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make the movie I had in my head. I just didn't have the money in tech to do it. All right, moving right along. I think Travis hit on some of these. But yeah, Cloud City definitely benefited from some CGI touches, especially the interior. If you go back to Empire before some of the CG, there's nothing. Like there's no windows showing the outside of Cloud City. It's just all drab, dreary hallways. Same thing with the arrival of the Falcon. It's much more enhanced. And yes, these days the CGI doesn't quite hold up to what we're used to. But in 97, that it added a lot of enhancement to Cloud City, the planet of Bespin, all that jazz. But really, in particular, Nick, it was the indoor shots that you've got movement outside now. It does finally feel like a city in the clouds.
Yeah, I agree that like having a view out of the windows and seeing the structures that are floating next to the building that they're in, seeing the ships passing along the, like passing by the windows and along the thoroughfares and stuff like that. That was a huge difference just in terms of like making this city feel like what it was. And then, but I agree too. I think that the Falcon entry is so much better now. Like the Falcon entry and like really seeing the city from that perspective as it landed was really cool. And one of the edits that I probably enjoyed the most in the,
I mean, listen, George and his CG was great for painting in the backgrounds. When he started to plop in characters and whatnot, that's where we're going to get into some of these worst edits coming up. Jabba, anyone?
Yeah.
The fucking idiot singer from Return of the Jedi, anyone? Okay. You know what? There's a lot of people that probably don't even pick up on this change in Empire, Nick, but I love the visuals of it if you're looking on the live stream. But now when Vader is calling for his shuttle, we actually get this great silhouette look of him walking out to the shuttle Tydirium. It just kind of feel the tension on Vader because he's obviously leaving that big battle he just had with his son. He didn't achieve his objective. He wants to get right back onto the Executor and catch the Falcon. And, you would expect the guy to be throwing a tantrum, but you see him just very casually yelling at, I think, Jerjerrod or whatever his name was, like, hey, get my fucking shuttle ready. Get me back to the goddamn Star Destroyer. We can still get the Falcon.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was a good addition to it. And I do think that, like, I at first, like, if I would have heard about this before seeing it, I would have said, like, don't do this because it's going to look really bad. Because not only is it a whole new, it's a scene that you're creating whole cloth, but it's also like putting in characters, even though silhouetted, at that time in a fully CG scene could have looked really bad. Right. And like, I think that they, like, they did a really good job of not making it look like a pixelated video game scene
Nick?
or something like that.
When I was reading this today, they actually might have repurposed this footage from Return of the Jedi. Now that I think about it,
like when they were walking.
Yeah,
across,
so they just used a plate and kind of dropped it onto this Bespin background. But I just, hey man, anything Vader that gets added obviously is going to be a best edit, and in Vader as a silhouette, he looks perfect. I mean, you can tell Vader on a horizon by his shadow from 20 miles away. Vader is Vader. All right. Yeah, Travis, there's some other things I didn't put in there. Like apparently, Nick, I forgot that when Lando goes to save Luke, they never used to have a hatch there. It was just like light came out and he's like, hey, come on, Luke, let's go. Really? Yeah.
It's like there's just a hole.
Yeah, hole of light. Like, yeah, it's like a light bubble.
Yeah, well, that was a good edit then. It makes more sense for there to be a hatch that opens for him to come out of, not just a giant hole at the top of the Millennium Falcon that anybody can
sure.
swing
Anyone
into
come in, have some fun. Okay, we've moved into Return of the Jedi, and I will tell you there was only one best edit, and it was the extension of Ula's Rancor death. Initially, she just drops down the pit. It cuts away. You just hear her scream nothing. Now we actually get to see the same actress 10 years later reshot the scenes, looks damn near identical continuity wise, and now you get a little more of the full horror of her death and trying to get out of there. And it just kind of sets up like once you're in that pit, you're fucked. There's no way out.
That was the more important part of this edit, was like setting the stakes, like
correct, making
people understand that like, oh, this isn't something that he like set up as a trap for Luke Skywalker specifically. Like this is the way that he just deals with people that he doesn't like, or like somebody did something wrong. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter if you're a dancer or if you're the consigliere, you're going into the fucking Rancor pit,
and you ain't getting out until he shits you out and homeboy shovels out the turds and throws it out back into the fertilizer patch. Hey, it sounds like Travis Mitchell might be on with Mando Pirate and I, Team Twi'lek Togruta. He's saying if you look close, Ula is flat out naked. I'll take you up on that. Might need some visual imagery later tonight. Might pull that up and do a little,
like a sheer,
do a little
like
free screen on that. But yeah, welcome to the club, Travis. There's a few of us that might or might not have a bit of a fetish for women with bright colored skin, be it green, blue, or orange, and stuff coming out of their heads. Thank you.
Yeah, this next one is interesting. We could have a little discussion.
Yeah, so this one's wild. Like this is another one that it's not only visually, but I also think it helps the story because of how fucking bad and creepy and cracked out the Yoda puppet looked in The Phantom Menace. Okay, this is our only prequel edit. Like the other stuff really didn't need much or get much. But George deciding that his decision to go back to a practical Yoda in The Phantom Menace needed corrected, right? Because it was pretty rough looking. I mean, he didn't even remotely look like Yoda.
No, it was such a and I don't want to like ever speak bad of like prop builders or prop makers.
I prefer it.
Like at its core, this puppet is incredibly well made. But like, I don't know who gave them the design instruction.
Dude,
or
George would have stamped the approval. We know that.
And it's wild to me that he looked at this puppet, and then also, even if he went back to ESB and ROTJ and like, let me compare them, like it's just so off. And what is also weird to me is that like he made this decision to have this puppet, but you had to have known at that time that episode 2 was going to have Yoda fighting. So like, what was your plan?
Oh yeah,
like,
that's
I'm
right.
Just gonna have the puppet. And,
I forgot the impetus to go back to CG was the gymnastic shit. Damn, you're right.
Yeah. Like, so either one of two things happened. the whole Yoda fight scene in episode 2 was not planned out initially.
I think Nick said that though, didn't he? Didn't he say that was kind of like last minute bullshit?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'd have to go back and listen to our interview with Gallard, but like if that's the case, then it makes sense, because like there's no way that George would be like, make this whole puppet, we're only going to use it for episode 1. Like, because then it's just such a jarring change. I mean, it was too, like it was such a jarring change to go from like seeing TPM in the theaters and seeing this puppet the whole time, and then you go into episode 2 and the puppet's just not there.
Oh, you're like, hey, Yoda's back, and it's not as Nova saying Death Stick Yoda.
Yeah, it's like, so there was definitely like a moment where George probably thought like, we're just gonna have like stationary non-fighting Yoda for at the very least through the first 2 movies, because if you think about the third one, Yoda fights a lot. Like Yoda fights in the Senate chamber. Yoda fights going into the Senate chamber.
Well, no, the Jedi Temple.
Going into the Jedi Temple. Yoda fights on Kashyyyk. Like Yoda has a lot of fights in episode 3. So like,
it's poor planning. Definitely didn't have a lot of foresight there.
No, because he probably didn't even think about. He probably didn't think that far ahead or something. But because I would imagine like, if I know that he's fighting in episode 3 and maybe he's not fighting in episode 2, I would not have a puppet in episode 1 and then have to change it later. Like it just doesn't make any sense. You know what else,
Nick? We also forget the era. I mean, to produce a full CG character back then, we're talking 3 full years of production, a ton of fucking money, thousands of VFX shots. So doing a puppet right off the bat's going to be way more economical,
way more expensive. Yeah.
But it's rough. Just, like if you're looking at the side by side here, Puppet Yoda literally doesn't even look remotely like Yoda has ever looked. Dude, ever looked.
Like the face shape is wrong. The skin coloration is wrong. The eyes were wrong.
It's fucking crazy. I mean, George must have just been
dude.
So excited to get the shooting. He just walked in and was like, "Yep, fuck it, stamp. That's the one." It's so bad. Like the face structure isn't even remotely. Like the bone structure isn't even close. It's not even close.
And it's like you can't get mad. Like Frank Oz nailed the voice too, and I was like, as soon as I heard it too, I was like, this is such a weird experience. Because it's like, it's Frank Oz and he's Yoda and he's doing the Yoda voice, but it's coming out of this puppet that looks nothing like Yoda. And I was like, well, I guess this is just like, man, maybe he just got, like, I have no idea. He looked worse in the prequels in episode 1 than he did after living in a swamp for like 20 years.
He looked better at almost 900 dying.
Yeah.
Than he looked here when he was probably what, 860, something like that.
Yeah, 860, 850.
Wait, that's the other thing. It's like George forgot that this motherfucker can live almost 1,000 years, but he felt like he had to de-age him 500 years.
Yeah, it's like just make him look exactly the fucking thing.
Even though it was only maybe a few decades that we literally had to de-age, which when you're a being that lives that long, a few decades is like a year or two. You're not going to look that different. So,
exactly, it's nothing.
Like Red Dog calling him the Grinch knockoff here.
It was such a weird experience to see that in person in a theater. I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
fixed now though, and that's going to end our best edit. So as the fans wanted, we're now going to move into the worst. And there's actually less worse moments, but they're very egregious, and they do affect your viewing of Star Wars. So let's get into it right off the bat. Speaking of Bat, he wanted me to shit on Kenobi a little bit. I guess this is my chance. But I cannot stand the new Kenobi scare-off call when he's coming to rescue Luke from the Tuskens.
Yeah.
They literally change it to, they say it's a crate dragon call, which I still don't believe, because now we hear what a crate dragon sounds like, and it fucking doesn't sound like this. I mean, it's literally, he goes like and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was like a
weird. Unless
Obi-Wan has a voice box on him or a recording of this, there's no way that man's vocal cords could produce what just came out of his face.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was a really poor edit, and like, I don't, and the thing is like, it didn't add, like, what did this add to it? Like,
Nothing.
it like,
George wanted us to
yeah,
know that the reason they would run from just one man is because they feared the Krayt Dragon so much. I'm being serious. Like, that's what it was.
I like, it just, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, it was one of those ones where it's like, all you're doing is changing a sound effect that nobody had any issue with.
It just like he. I mean, the poor Sir Alec. They got him like walking on this craggy shit. He looks like He almost looks like a scarecrow or like a clan member, and their robe got dyed, and he's waving his arms. He does not. He looks like a crazy person, and sounds even crazier now. Yeah, I like the original sound, like Red Dog is saying. It was fine. Like, what do you gotta do here? This just goes to show you why George Lucas had to get rid of Star Wars. It was killing him. He could never stop thinking about making it better in his mind.
Yeah, like he would have been completely like, we would have probably had like remastered prequels by now.
Oh, easy.
Like,
easy.
For sure.
You kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. We'd be on, like, they'd have as many iterations as the OT does at this point in time. Yeah. But yeah, so that one was odd. Moving on here. I fucking hate this. It has a movement behind it called Han Shot First. We all know he did. But this bullshit where I don't even care if you want to make it seem like Greedo shot first, but the way you had to do it and just you make it look so wonky and cheap. It's just like, George, you're already working with 1970s effects. Why you gotta come in and make the scene look even dumber, even shittier? And for why? None of us thought Han Solo was like this great, awesome person. I loved when he was just like, hey, fuck you, eat shit. You're gonna threaten me, you die. I was like, yeah, that's a motherfucking smuggler scoundrel. Not this Greedo has to shoot first because George modeled him after a John Wayne cowboy, and cowboys never shoot first.
I mean, here's my thought on this. It's like, even if you're gonna do it, there was a better way to do it. Like, don't make it to where he does this weird shift, like his body shifts, and in the image you have pulled up, it looks like his whole leg is disconnected from his body now.
Yeah,
so like,
it doesn't work.
So all that you needed to do was just add Greedo's fucking like shot above his head and just make it to where he's straight up missed. Like, if that's what you want to do, fine. Like, make it to where Greedo took a shot and missed, but don't make it to where like you have to go in weird CG this whole body movement that disconnects his body from his leg.
You're right. Look, I mean, Harrison's face looks fucking uncanny right there. Like, it doesn't look real.
Terrible. So like, if he was absolutely like intense on Greedo has to shoot first, then just make it to where Greedo misses, and Han doesn't have to do this weird shit that really fucks up the whole scene.
This is one where I'm just like, George, please, man. It was such a badass scene the way it was initially shot. I mean, the first time you meet Han, he's like, oh, hey, Greedo, you fucking loser. How you doing? Greedo's like, hey, fuck you too, motherfucker. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and turn you in the Jabba the Hutt. And he's like, oh, you want to? Bam! Yeah, that's exactly what would happen in that fucking scene. Not this, as Nick said, some after the fact you jam in like Greedo's blaster and this not even fully fleshed out VFX laser bolt, and then you bring in 1997 Harrison Ford VFX. It's just fuck. And listen, I hear you guys, Bats, like, well, you know, Disney now makes it shoot first, but what did they do? McClunky! Okay? They try to correct it, even though Greedo's still, you know, they got that stupid shot in there. But for some reason, they're like, hey, yeah, let's, this is going to make this all better, right? They're like, hey, Bob, if we put McClunky in, they'll forget all about Han shoots first, right? Do it. So I got kind of a meme up here, but it says McClunky. Its definition is a creator's way of trolling his fans. And that's pretty much what it has become. George himself I've seen him wearing the famous Han shoots first shirt. So he knows.
And like, yeah, and the funny thing is like but like you fucked it up. Like that's like I can't.
But the crazy thing is, Nick, George didn't do McClunky. This was after Disney took it over.
George didn't do McClunky.
They're like, let's make this even worse.
Yeah, like he made the worst fuck up by editing this scene to start with. Because once he edited it, then Disney got it and they're like, well, we can edit it too because he already edited it. And it's just so fucking bad now. Like,
McClunky. He goes, McClunky. I think then he shoots and then he gets killed. It's like, fuck.
Filoni say something about this? Like, what was his thing? He was like, oh, he said it because of this. Or like, I can't remember.
He's probably like, listen, people, I get asked this question all the time. Here's the truth. I love George. He's my fucking hero and mentor. But he was completely wrong here. And that's what McClunky means. It's our way of saying, hey, George, McClunky yourself. Red Dog's making a good point here. Speaking of the scene, that scene was so set in the 70s and how movies were about then. The violence was totally acceptable and perfectly normal for a character. Yes, exactly. Thank you. And this, for those people that like the, Cartman's woke argument, this was fucking decades before woke even existed in the lexicon of the far right. It was just George, like, hey, he's John Wayne. Cowboys don't shoot first. Whatever. Han Solo was never a fucking cowboy. He was a scoundrel. All right? A smuggling scoundrel. Ah, fuck you, Greedo. All right.
Yeah, this next one.
Here's another bad one. I mean, really, George wanted, he took A New Hope and Return of the Jedi, in my opinion, flamethrowed a lot of scenes for no fucking reason. So the next one here coming from A New Hope, and we are looking at the 97 version where they got just this atrocious looking CG Jabba the Hutt that's like somehow the size of a regular man now. It's just terrible. I mean, the scene itself makes no sense, adds nothing to A New Hope, and you could actually argue that it robs from the initial reveal of the Millennium Falcon through Luke and Obi-Wan, right? Because now we see it as fans before Luke goes in. It's like, holy shit, that bucket of, that piece of garbage is what we just paid for. But no, you get this dumb scene where it was shot with a human. So when Harrison's walking around it, then they have to come up with the, he's going to step on his tail.
Like,
and Jabba goes like, blah, blah, blah. And you got random Boba Fett like breaking the fourth wall, standing there. Greedo's back alive, literally the same exact Rhodian wearing the same garb as there. It's just dumb as fuck. And George's excuse was, well, yeah, we need to set more up for Jabba because he's going to be important 2 movies down the line.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that like if you're gonna do it's like there was no thought put into it.
It's terrible.
It's like you said, Jabba the Hutt. The first time he's presented to us in any meaningful way, he's much larger than this.
He's a fucking huge. Like literally, the scene was shot when Jabba was still a human gangster. Yeah, he was a fat guy and he looked like he's wearing like a Wookiee carpet on him.
It's just like, it's terrible. The implementation of Jabba, it's terrible because they clearly took a scene that was filmed in a different order and put it out of order intentionally. It's terrible because they had to do like all of the edits. Like, why would you even make Harrison step on his tail? Like, he could have just stepped over it. Like, you didn't have to add in all of these stupid details that you did. And now what you've done is like, we already know, we find out like that Harrison, or that not Harrison, you find out that Han is like, there is a strained relationship there, but you don't need this like shit to do it.
Dude, you get that through the scene we just shit on. Greedo establishes that, and then Han keeps reinforcing it throughout the movie. I can't fucking save no princess. I can't fight with no fucking rebellion. I gotta pay off a debt.
Yeah, it's just it never made any sense to why they put this in. And I think, like, to me, this is the worst of all of them. Like,
okay, all right, because don't worry, I was going to save it, but I did. At the end of the worst, we're going to have the worst of the worst and the best of the best. So we'll see what happens here if Nick and I align. But I agree, it looks bad. It's awful. Like, it's just an awful scene. It makes no sense. It breaks continuity, and really the biggest thing, if you really think about it, it robs you of the actual reveal of the Falcon for the first time. All right. This one, I don't know. I think it's kind of funny, but if you really think about it, it's also kind of dumb. But on the Death Star, when Han and Chewie are like, like just running around the whole time, and he runs into the hangar. He literally, in the enhanced versions, if you look in the hangar, there's like 6 million stormtroopers. It's obscene. There's so many stormtroopers. It kind of makes that scene silly now. Like, really? That many? And they couldn't just follow him in that pack of 6,000 to capture these guys?
Yeah, like nobody hits him once.
But look at it. I mean, I've got it up on the screen here. It's fucking silly. Like, if they just all opened fire, it would be impossible to miss.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, and again, like, this is another question to me, is like,
why?
How does this enhance anything?
Yeah, why?
What you had last time was he's running through an area that he has no idea where he's going, so he's just like running away from something, and then he just runs into another group of stormtroopers. Like, I don't think there was ever an issue with like, well, there wasn't enough people chasing them. Like, I just don't understand what the thought process was behind this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's because, because he kind of turned, it's almost like a cartoon where he turns out like, oh shit, like, feet don't feel me now. I just ran into something I definitely can't run by. We got to get back. And that's what I mean. It's almost like, it almost makes it sillier, but
yeah,
you didn't need it, George. We understood. He ran into the hangar. There was a bunch of them, so he ran away.
And then
hey,
I mean, I don't know if this is just this screen grab, but like, look at the top left. It looks like there's a bunch of people standing in line up there.
Yeah, just hanging out. They're having their officers.
What the fuck is that?
It's the officers' weekly meeting on a Wednesday. They're up there having their staff meeting, and they can't be bothered by literally the Death Star being infiltrated by rebels.
Yeah, like, it was such a weird. It's just such a weird choice to make here, and like, just completely.
Hey,
not necessary.
Shit happens, man. Like I said, the dude loved his toy, and he wanted to keep massaging it. Yeah. All right, moving on. We're in the Empire now, and this is one that has been subsequently fixed because it was so bad. But does everyone remember in the special edition release of Empire Strikes Back when Luke is falling down the pit in Bespin? They took the Empire, the Emperor's death scream from Jedi and dubbed it in here. I'm not kidding.
Dude,
not kidding.
I don't remember that, but I fully believe you, because that's just some shit that George would do.
Yeah.
He's like, if you're falling down, you have to scream.
Right. It'll sound the same. It'll sound like an evil Sith wizard going down there.
Yeah.
But as I verified and read today, it has been removed. It's no longer there. But it's another one like,
because I was going to say, I was like, I don't remember, but I may have just blocked that out of my memory.
I mean, it is funny, and I guess it does kind of speak to Empire's overall quality even after George's initial release. But Empire really was spared a lot of his special edition nonsense. It kind of got the best of everything, where it's mostly just visual enhancements and, maybe a bogus sound drop here or there, but they didn't really do anything that completely changed the story like A New Hope, and in my opinion, even more so, Return of the Jedi. All right, here we are, Return of the Jedi. And these ones hurt me the most, like I said, because ROTJ is my movie. It is the best Star Wars movie to me. I've got my reasons. That shit at the end with Luke and Vader in the throne room, that's prime Star Wars. It doesn't get better than that. But to start things off here, people, I cannot fucking stand what they did in Jabba's palace with Cy Snoodles. What was the original song, Lapty Neck, being replaced by Jedi fucking rocks, okay? And this Joe Yowza dickhead that now gets to sing instead of Cy. It's hot garbage. It ruins an otherwise great little intro to Jabba's palace. Great little song being sung by a practical Psy. It just kills it all. I fucking hate it. I can't stand it. It just puts a bad taste in my mouth when I watch Jedi now.
Yeah, I mean, it just, and not only that, like, it feels so weird to have this, like,
it's like, what the fuck?
It just felt so out of place. And then you just have like this CGI like monkey character just jumping around and shit. It was so weird.
Yeah, the Max Rebo band went up to like 10 members.
It was crazy. Yeah, no, it's like that.
That's terrible.
Definitely did not fit the vibe that
exactly.
they were going
I mean,
for
dude, that Jedi Rocks is not a fucking song the Max Rebo band would ever play or write. Ever.
It was
terrible. It's terrible.
It was not
and while we're on this scene, it continues. Boba Fett fucking tickling dancers' faces and flirting. For the Boba Fett people out there, he's a hard-ass motherfucker. Oh, he's killing motherfucker, doing that. Boba Fett ain't sitting in there fucking getting cute with people. He ain't fucking around. He's a clone, for Christ's sake. He doesn't care. For all we know, he doesn't even have testicles.
He may not.
You know,
actually,
he should be in there paying attention, getting ready for anyone whipping out a thermal detonator.
Yeah.
Not sitting there getting all fucking cute.
It definitely is like an odd look for that character, considering how he's portrayed every time.
Yeah, like a loner, hard ass, badass bounty hunter. I mean, no, he ain't doing that type of shit. Get the hell out of here. Maybe Jango Fett, the source material, but no, not his little clone baby. It's just dumb. I mean, God, I hate that song. Like, Jedi Rocks is so horrendous. And Nova's right. We're not done yet with songs that are fucking trash in Return of the Jedi. But we'll get there. Up next, not gonna lie, I fucking hated the beak on the Sarlacc pit. Hated it. It was another one where it just felt unnecessary. Okay, George, you want to add in some extra tentacles? Okay, cool. Because they were there in the original Sarlacc. But literally gutting the practical pit and jamming in this wonky looking bird beak? No.
Yeah, the beak, I agree with you that like the tentacles are fine. Like, but the beak just made no sense. Like it didn't add anything. It's like, what, do you want to give it a mouth? Like specifically a mouth? Because I mean, maybe he thought like it didn't look like it was alive enough because it was just a hole in the ground. Like, I don't know.
Jabba and C-3PO set it up just fine initially, Nick. Like, hey, you're gonna sit there and die over 1,000 years in the belly of the Sarlacc. We don't need to see its tongue and mouth going yum 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 yum. It was fine just throwing people into the teethy hole in the sand.
Yeah, no, I was totally fine with that as well. Yeah.
So I don't know. It was weird. I mean, if you want to change anything about the Sarlacc pit, maybe make Bozo Fett's death not so ridiculously stupid. All right, maybe make that seem a little more glorious or hardcore instead of some badass bounty hunter who literally his whole life has been trained to be a dog, ends up getting his jetpack mistakenly activated by a blind guy. Flying into the side of Jabba's sail barge, making like sounds, hitting it and rolling into his death. Please. I mean, thank you, Book of Boba Fett, for at least bringing him out and giving him some honor and some backstory and some character. Because without that, this mouth on the Sarlacc, the just sheer silliness of Boba's death, just made the character into a bozo, as I've told you.
Like, they really did screw this guy over, especially in the special edition re-edit.
Jesus.
Like, they really fucked this guy
silly.
up.
So silly. Okay, this is another one that hurts big time. Because not only does it fuck with what I consider to be the most emotional moment in all of Star Wars, but it makes Darth Vader look like a big dummy, a big dope, like an emotionally stupid idiot. And I'm talking about The moment where we see this poor motherfucker finally realize, even behind a mask and a helmet, you could feel him change. You could see the pain that Palpatine was causing him as he watched his son being tortured and murdered. And you see him look, and you see him look, and you see him look, and then he makes the action silently. And you're like, yes! Anakin, yes! You got it, finally! Your son got through to you! You're finally doing what you're supposed to do! Back in Revenge of the Sith. It was awesome! Like I said, one of the most touching, one of the most emotionally charged scenes in Star Wars. And what do they do, Nick? What do they fucking do to this? They make him go, no, no! As he picks up Palpatine and tosses him into the pit. I can't tell you how much that fucking wounds my Star Wars soul every time I see that now. It is disgusting. It's a tragedy. This is something that Disney should have eradicated when they got the goddamn rights to this fucking series. This is the worst edit that anyone has ever made to Star Wars. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely not great either. I mean, I don't feel that it's worse than the Jabba thing because the Jabba thing just fucks up so many things with it.
God, they just make Vader look like his turn back it doesn't even feel genuine anymore. It feels silly. It's like a slapdick scene.
And I mean, I think that it's just George trying to be cute with what he did with in the prequels and marrying it in the.
But that wasn't cute either. Everyone made fun of that. He had to have known.
I know, but I feel like at a certain point, like George just stopped caring what people thought, and like he admitted as much in one of the panels or something like that. He's like, I think it was in one of the first, like, was it the TFA? I think it might have been the celebration before TFA release. Like they had him on a panel and he was just like, yeah, at a certain point you just stop listening to what everybody says and you just do what you want to do because ultimately it was owned by him. And like, yeah, I mean, this way it's definitely wonky. It definitely doesn't like do justice to the character or add anything to it.
It just wasn't needed. Like I said, I mean, if you're paying attention, even through the mask, you can see the pain that Anakin is going through watching this. And you can see the wheels are turning and enough is enough. It's a click moment when he does the look, which now is the no, and then the look to his boss, which now is the no, and he picks him up. You don't need that. It's so awful, silly. It cheapens the emotional moment for me. I fucking hate it. And I don't care if his helmet's dirty or not. That's not the point. Fuck.
Dirty helmet.
Fucking no. Like, I mean, the no in Rots almost makes sense because he's still like a wacko. Okay?
He's like processing.
Yeah, he just caught himself on fire. He just lost his legs and his other arm, and he's been rebuilt as a robot, and he just kind of got slightly lied to that he's the reason his wife is dead. Okay, even though I still think it was like George giving a nod to fucking Frankenstein, Doc Frankenstein. I know Frankenstein is really the monster. I'm not stupid. But even, okay, we could get away with that. Here, it's just fucking silly, cheap, lazy. I don't know what you want to call it. I hate it. I fucking hate its guts. Like, I want to punch my screen just talking about this fucking moment. I fucking hate it. And there was really bad. There's a part of me last year when I do a rewatch every holiday season of at least the Skywalker. Well, no, I do them all because I'm a fucking dude. And I'm like, oh, is it as bad as you think, Matt? It's not that bad, is it? Like I'm even trying to start to gaslight myself over it, Nick, so I can just get through it and not want to go jump off a fucking bridge. All right, moving on here with Return of the Jedi. This is another one that I just think it's inexcusable. It's unforgivable. But removing the Ewok celebration song that we all fondly call Yub Nub and replacing it with that god-awful sounding victory celebration song is tease. It might be on my worst of the worst list.
Yeah, I mean, that one... It definitely sucks because I see what he's trying to do. Like when in the original, it was like the celebration that was going on was very limited.
It was localized.
To, like,
it was Endor.
Yeah, it was just them.
Yeah,
and it was just like, and he's trying to show that like this is bigger than just them. But I think that like that more than anything, I think the choice to replace the song is the problem.
100%.
Like I don't care if you like flash around. Like
yeah, sure,
but just keep the Ewok song.
Yes.
Like you don't have to change. Like that song was very like people enjoyed that song. People like, you know, made that like some of their like favorite things.
Bro,
in Star
anyone
Wars
you go
and,
Yub Nub song, you're gonna be like, fuck yeah, dude. I know you. I see you. Like it's almost like it's like a code word at this point in time.
And now it's just a very generic kind of orchestral thing.
I hate it because they like even tried to make it somewhat tribal to start. You know, they got like some jingle bells in there. I'm like, no, fuck you. Just let John Williams write the fucking song. And if he did write that song, that's the only time I ever say John Williams failed. If John Williams had any hand in victory celebration, shame on him. Because the Ewok celebration is it. It is it. I mean, I can hear it right now. That do, right? Yub nub.
Yeah.
Icha. Yo, icho be gaga boo, yi papi boo ba, yubba yubba yubba, yoopa doopa doop, yup nub. I mean, come on. And then it goes into that choir thing that then, you know, feeds into the ding 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 the credit song. I mean, beautiful shit. I tear up when I think about that song and the transition into the choir into the credits. It's fuck. Victory celebration. Like, get the shit out of here.
It definitely.
Happy to know that we do have a rankings item on our special topics list. So that's definitely in the works. I think that's something Nick and I we're going to have to link up a little bit more to kind of pre-plan and get our visual assets and whatnot ready. But we will do a ranking. It's been quite some time, and I don't think we ever included the TV shows. I mean, we're never going to do a production like Beyond the Dune Sea. I'm not going to get some fucking board and shoot it and put up cards for like a tier list, but we'll most definitely get to a ranking. So thank you. And it is the best song in all of Star Wars. Up there with, you know, Leia's theme, the Force theme, you know, Ben's death is another one that resonates with me, mostly because of my little kid. When I used to pick her up from daycare, she'd be like, put on Ben's death. You know, that's where he dies. And then you get into the do, and they're fighting the TIE fighters from the Falcon. Great shit. But yeah, no, this one hurts me almost as much as the no Vader. That to me as a kid was when Yub Nub would kick on, I knew like, all right, they won. It's time to fucking celebrate, sing, do a little Yub Nub, and call it a day. But no longer. It's just this awful like do 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 do. Shut the fuck up. All right, moving right along. Anyone want to guess? If we're on Return of the Jedi, we're at the celebration. What could be the last worst moment? Yes, indeed. It looks like Travis has left. He likes it. I fucking hate it. Having Hayden show up as the ghost, literally just his head dubbed onto Sebastian's body, is terrible. I think Nick and I, at least through Ahsoka, came to the understanding like, yes, Anakin as a ghost should look like Hayden, because that's when he died. He killed his light side. But then bring him in his own garb. Don't dump him in fucking Sebastian Shaw's Jedi tunic that's white and looks just like Obi-Wan Kenobi's. And if you look now, Nick, I believe now it's almost like you can tell there's two humans being grafted onto each other for this scene.
Yeah, I mean, I think more than any of the other ones, this is more about the execution for sure. Because, like, it had to be Hayden. Like, you couldn't have kept that as Sebastian because it would make no sense. Like, people watching the full watching like the full saga of Star Wars after seeing the prequels would get to this point and they'd be like, who fuck's that guy? Like, they would have no idea who that
Well,
character
you did
is.
just see him with his helmet off like a scene before, so it wouldn't be like that jarring.
But it's like even with his helmet off, because of so much like makeup that was on him, it was even hard to make out that that's the same dude.
Oh, did you also know,
and
Nick, they eventually had to wipe Sebastian's eyebrows off because they're like, oh wait, dude got his face caught on fire. I don't think he's growing hair anymore. So.
Yeah, it's like probably not going to have eyebrows. But yeah, I mean, this one, it's definitely like execution is so poor on it. Like you could have just taken the time, like just fucking, like you had to get Hayden's face, right? Like why not just get the rest of his, but it's like, hey, just put on the fucking black cloak,
dude,
and then all like your shit and then just do it right.
They could fix this today. You literally have Hayden Christensen as a Force Ghost wearing the correct garb from Ahsoka. Just take that and dub it over this.
Yeah.
Done.
And like, I think that we've definitely mentioned this before. I think that like any edits to the OT and or prequel trilogy are completely off limits to Disney. I think that was something that George put in to his
because I mean we have talked about some changes they made, but they've only been like removing an audio bit that might not have worked, or you know, like dubbing in McClunky.
Yeah, like I don't know if
shit, man. Lawyers are good. There's a way to get out of everything. Please, I mean,
yeah, it's like maybe.
The world's so fucked up these days. The law, order, nothing means anything anymore. Just do whatever the fuck you want, Disney. Plop them in, even if it's older Hayden. Hell, even older Hayden, who should be playing this younger Hayden, looks better than what we get. All right? You get this super fresh face Hayden. He's wearing white tunics, which we know Anakin never fucking touched. It makes no sense. The look. I mean, it does make sense now that Hayden is representing the ghost form, but the execution is severely poor and does kind of,
it pulls you out of,
I was gonna say it breaks like the experience a bit. It's like whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just an odd choice they made. So
yeah, B-Man, you make a great point here. It is odd, and like I said, I think it's good that George got rid of it because clearly that shit has mostly stopped. But B-Man's saying, can we just take a moment to appreciate how Star Wars is the only franchise where they continuously update and edit their original movies, and they have been, and I think 2019 is the most recent pass, but I assume that's it. I think that pass was just to give us the 4K Atmos editions, clean up even more visuals and audio, and like I said, maybe remove a few of the wonkier edits from the special edition. But hey, here we are. So, as promised, the worst of the worst, Nick. So what I had, number 1, Jabba the Hutt, A New Hope. So I'm right with you.
Yeah, I mean it's the most egregious because it not only is poorly executed, but it fucks up so many things in the background, like so many things that are like to come in the movies, that it's just like you detracted actively from your own narrative by doing this.
It was pure greed. It made no sense. I think it was George just, flexing that he's the big dick in the room. Like, listen.
Yeah, he's like, look, I can do this. I can fucking put CG.
We're doing it.
Jabba the Hutt right here, just because I want to.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Like, okay.
All right. So that was on there. Obviously, the 3 I just talked about for me are also on there. So the Vader no, the Hayden Ghost in the wrong tunic, and scrubbing Ewok Celebration, aka Yub Nub. To me, those are the 4 worst edits that do take away from the enjoyment of these excellent movies. They 100% do. Every time I watch the original trilogy now, they don't necessarily feel like my original trilogy thanks to these moments right here.
The only one that I would change out is like, I would just put the whole Greedo scene from A New Hope in place of the ghosts at the end, because like the ghost scene is so minimal. Like they don't like obviously they don't say anything. They're on screen for less than a minute. Like it's just like hi, bye, whatever. Like was it poorly executed? Absolutely. But I think that like the Han didn't shoot first and then the McClunky thing with Greedo was just like
Greedo should have been on there too.
Fuck?
I think I was running out of time, need to hit the gym before we went live, so I missed that one. But 100%. Hey, inside the box animations, he's getting the McClunky in there. Lionworks is in there. Lionworks, your perfect time. We're about ready to slide into the fan segment to talk about your shot. So you're not late. You just missed all the good stuff. As we're wrapping up our best and worst edits of the trilogies. So, Nick, we can't do a worst of the worst we got to end on a positive note. So the best of the best, right? What do we got? Biggs and Luke, that addition to Yavin 4, bringing in Ian and fleshing that out a bit more with Vader in Empire Strikes Back. And then the big one, replacing cracked out Death Stick huffing Yoda with CG Yoda in The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely I know that this was supposed to be OT, but like the Yoda change was just so necessary. Like the Yoda change completely, like the puppet Yoda was just awful. One of the worst things to look at in that movie. And it was like, that was at a time too when like the visuals of that movie were like very impressive. Like the CGI
Cutting
was
edge.
really impressive.
Cutting edge,
just
dude.
Like
first ever full CG character. I mean,
yeah.
It was groundbreaking
on another level. And like then you're like, oh man, all this looks so cool. And then you see this Yoda puppet every time. You're like, fuck, what the hell? Like it just ruined everything.
Yeah, Yoda's out there sucking dick for coke these days. I mean,
dude, it was
so bad.
I just don't know, dude. Like I don't know if like that was one of the papers that went across his desk was like a shot of the final Yoda puppet, and that was just one that he like didn't even look at and just signed off on. Was like, yep, that's fine.
It was a long day. He's like, I got to get out of here. Go, good. And they looked at each other like, holy shit, he bought it. We're gonna get this stupid ass puppet in here.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I don't know.
All right. Well, hopefully you dug that special topic. Like I said, we're going to do a lot more of this. Nick and I maybe will powwow after this, or at least tomorrow through Slack to kind of pick next week's special topic. But I dig it. I kind of had fun putting it together, even though I know our graphics are terrible. But that's us, right? That's the fucking Star Wars Time show. You come here for the words, not the visuals. All right. And we know our words are very, very, very highfalutin, highly educated sounding at all times.
Yeah.
But
we're always smart.
It is about that time, like I teased there for our buddy Lionworks, a Star Wars toy photographer. It's that time of the show to transition into the fan segment. That's right. We do a fan segment every week right here on the SWTS, and we give fans two ways to get involved. First way is going to be your question of the week. And if you follow us on Instagram at StarWarsTime.show, that's where we post it, both in stories and profile. You just got to figure out a way to convince the algorithm to show you our content. I don't know if you need to follow, sub, turn on notifications for us, but it would be nice to start getting some more people than our hardcore fans, those that we know, we see you, we love you, but it seems very rare that we can extend beyond Tones, Bat, Nova here or there, and Johnny. So turn on those notifications. That's all I can tell you. All right, Nick, we'll go ahead and get the question of the week ready to go here. I was fucking around, not getting the correct screens ready, so I apologize. We'll shut that. We'll do one of those, and then we got to do one of these, and we'll get there. Hey, we do it live, people. We'll do it live, right?
That's right.
So this week's question, I didn't really know where we were going today. I didn't even know we were going to do the special editions until, I don't know, before this afternoon. So I settled on, hey, fans, what is your favorite Star Wars trilogy and why? Nick, what did we get?
So we got some good responses. Figure Wit Out is the first one up. They say, I think all the trilogies have their positives and negatives. As much as I love the OT, my favorite overall has to be the prequels. They only edge it for me as I grew up with those. They drew the story. of cinema's most iconic villain and Vader and his backstory, pretty much. They also expanded the universe to another level, and yes, the films individually may not be as strong as others, but the overall arc was so iconic and tragic for the characters at the same time.
That's not a bad interpretation of the prequels from a prequels, bro. I'll accept that.
Yeah. And it says, cannot ever not feel horrified when Order 66 is happening. Also, the music scores of Duel of Fates and Battle of the Heroes are so important and iconic.
Hey, a lot of good music in the prequels, no doubt about that.
That's true. League of Extraordinary Sixthers says, the OG for me. I did appreciate what the sequel trilogy tried to with expanding the universe to a new generation. I mean, it gave us Mando and Ahsoka live action. Without the sequel trilogy, I don't think we would have gotten as much Star Wars content. It's a great time to be a fan.
Lee,
so
staying positive, love it.
OT for them, but appreciate the sequel trilogy and revitalizing the Star Wars universe. Pixel Rope says the OT will always be my favorite. My family first bought a VCR in the early 80s so we could record Star Wars off of HBO so I could watch it over and over as a child, making me a fan for life. I mean, that's similar for me.
Yeah,
recorded VHS, like not in the 80s for me, in the early, like the mid 90s.
And I'm pretty sure Pixel Rope is a Pittsburgher like I was, so I got you, man. First Dan. All right, go ahead.
This one, Scissor Me Xerxes always has some fun stuff in here. He says the sequel trilogy, the idea of it, but not the truth. The weakness of it, there was no future there.
That's very well said. I'm not like, honestly, that's legit.
Yeah, I mean, the idea, I think that they tried to execute off of TFA would have been interesting. But I do think
listen, people, what Scissors is saying is exactly how I ended up feeling about the prequels, because as I first started hearing that these were happening when I was like fucking 16. And I'm going, what? Not only am I going to get to see Star Wars in the theaters again, 97, by the way, special editions, but he's making new ones, and he's going to explain how Anakin became Darth. Holy shit. So the idea of the prequels was life to me. I honestly was like, this is it. This is everything I've ever wanted for Star Wars. And obviously, as Scissor with the sequels, and I agree with the sequels, same thing. But not the truth. That was the hard thing. The truth for me with both the prequels and now the sequels was like, hey, my expectations were too high, sadly.
Yeah. So, I mean, there we go. But I do like that he gives an explanation. Like, and I like how I feel like a lot of people really wanted to like the sequel trilogy, and
why
like
not? It's new. It was new Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like you never want to go anything being like, well, this is gonna suck. Like, because if you do that, then like, why are you going to see it?
And bro, place? You and I, we come out of TFA and we're like, fucking A, Star Wars is back. That's exactly how I felt. I mean, I put myself in Star Wars timeout after the prequels. That's how much they weighed on me. And I don't want to say like some of these idiots like I ruined my childhood, but it did. I was severely disappointed. So once you prequel people, I think you're getting old enough now that you can realize that you're doing the same shit to the sequel people. It's we all have our own little generation of Star Wars trilogies, and we're all going to hold to them dearly because depending on how old you are when you watch them, your frame of reference is off. But when it comes down to it, the right answer here for everyone, I don't care who you are, what age you are, is the original trilogy. It's not even close. You don't get anything else without the OT. So go ahead, Nick. Sorry.
Darth LVJ feels the same. It's they say they all add something special to the full story, but I have to give it to the OT where it all started. The OT will forever remain best and most
Sorry,
nostalgic.
Darth. I didn't mean to step on your point, but yes.
And then Lord of Thane closes it out. It says, grew up with the OT and nothing ever managed to thrill/energize me nearly as much again movie-wise. So it seems like a lot of OT, and then we have a prequel prequel fan in there as well. So,
makes sense. I like in the chat here a lot of fond memories about VHS, which some of you might not even know what that is, but
dude, I had so many like straight up recorded off of TV VHSs, recorded from another VHS. Like I don't know if I actually ever bought a VHS.
You know what? You know what's funny, Nick? Because humans are dumb and we love nostalgia. Guess what's like a hot commodity right now?
Is it really like
unopened VHS tapes? Apparently Pete Davidson like invested in a shit ton of them, and I forget which film it was, but I think he said he sold it for like $20,000.
That's insane.
Yeah, but dude, it's what happened. Like everyone wants to go back to when they were kids. Like, hey, fuck streaming and digital content and big TVs. I want to go watch like 180p VHS tape on a tube TV, because that's what I did when I was a kid. Like, all right.
Like, I mean, like, I appreciate a lot of stuff from my childhood, and they're
not that.
But I'm like, oh man, it'd be really cool if this. No.
This guy right here, like I said, video file, audio file. I do not revert in that shit.
Yeah,
bigger, faster, stronger for me when it comes to that type.
Crazy.
All right.
All right.
Yeah,
so
go ahead and
thank you
transition
all
us
for
here.
The question of the week responses. We're going to be getting into the top 5 Star Wars fan artist features of the week. To get involved in this, make sure to follow us on Instagram at StarWarsTime.show, and then tag us, add tag at StarWarsTime.show on all of your Star Wars Instagram posts. Once you tag us, that's when you fall into our tag section on our profile, where I pull all of the top 5 from. Make sure to also use the hashtag Star Wars Time Show on your posts, because we appreciate seeing that number climb up and up and up. So, to kick off the top 5 this week, we have at Lionworks, who just jumped into the chat with an awesome shot of our good buddy from the book of Boba Fett, Cad Bane. And it's just like, this shot for me just looks so cool because of Cad's like facial expression. Like the head sculpt on this figure looks so freaking awesome, and it fits the scene that we're seeing so well, with Boba standing over him, stabbing like, I guess it's like some sort of like spear or pike like down into his body.
It's
like,
a play on his supposed death in the book of Boba Fett, but the difference here is Lion's like, fuck Daimyo
we're
Fett.
Gonna show,
we're going OG Fett in his initial, flight suit and whatnot that got chewed up in the Sarlacc's gut. But yeah, I mean, these are beautiful hot toys. I have that Cad Bane sitting nicely in a box, doing nothing with the money I spent on him. I can't even look at him because I'm an asshole. But I'm with you. I love the perspective Lionworks took here, that top-down shot. I dig the shadows even. A lot of times in photography, you don't necessarily want shadows. I actually think the shadows work great here, both on the pike going into Cad's chest, and then the one from the hat is a nice touch as well. But yeah, you are right. This Cad figure, even though I know some people didn't like live-action Cad, it is a damn good-looking Hot Toys.
It does. It looks really awesome. And posing, that, like you said, like getting those shadows in there, whether intentionally or not, all
shadows
really
are
well
great.
done.
I love the fucking shadows, to be honest with you. I love them.
It just like fits the style of this show really well, where it's like a spaghetti western told in space, and like just really well done. At Lionworks, WORX on Instagram.
Next up, your name.
Is at 97 Parsecs Photography, one of our favorites here. And what we see is Ahsoka the White with her white lightsabers fighting against white-clad stormtroopers in the white snow of Hoth. I mean, it's just like, I really love how like, sometimes you don't want too much of one color in a scene, because it just becomes like mishmash.
Yeah, it drowns everything out, really, but not here.
Exactly. Like, Robert does a fantastic job of like taking the color white and using it to like amplify this scene.
Yep.
And it was just like, it's just like, 97 is an incredible toy photographer to start with, but like when you look at stuff like this, you're like, man, if anybody else did this, it probably wouldn't have looked as good. Like it for sure would not have looked as good. And it's just because Robert knows how to do these things in toy photography that can just like take a scene that most people would fuck up and make it look really good.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you nailed it, because you typically want your background to provide a bit of contrast to the subject. But everything here it's so bright, so white in tone, that it's hard to pull this off. Because, I mean, Ahsoka, if you're listening here, Ahsoka is literally wearing a white robe and hood in a snow scene that just really, the background's more white and a little bit of light blue. But it still manages to pop off, that you still get the contrast thanks to the posing, kind of the tweaks to the robe to look like Ahsoka's in motion. It's just job well done.
Yeah, fantastic job all around. 97_parsecs_photography. Absolutely killed it. All right.
I don't even think he's here today, so we should just scroll right by it, right? We don't
scroll right.
If they don't come to listen, we skip it.
Jared's listening somewhere. This is from @SirDork.
Alternate high ground.
It is. This is an alternate take on the ending of ROTS, where Anakin has the high ground, not Obi-Wan Kenobi. And honestly, like, this is, hold on one sec. This is a scene that is very similar to what Nick Gillard told us may have actually been planned for the end of ROTS.
Mm-hmm.
And what we see here is Anakin on the high ground, now using the Force to completely suspend Obi-Wan Kenobi up to his level. Obi-Wan's lightsaber has fallen out of his hand. Anakin's already whipping his red saber. And this is essentially would be the moment where Anakin just absolutely murders Obi-Wan Kenobi, drops him into the lava, and then is done with his former master. But the scene that Nick Gillard, the former stunt coordinator for the prequels, told us about was in that scene where we now have the high ground. What was supposed to happen is Anakin was supposed to like pull Obi-Wan to him into like a forced choke, but he's actually like using his hand to choke him. But then Obi-Wan kind of like is able to fight his way out and then cuts Anakin up that way.
You were right, where he was going to have pretty much Obi-Wan dead to rights, but Obi-Wan was going to force pull his lightsaber through ignited. And as it was coming to his hand, that's where you would have got the legs chopped, and then he would have grabbed it, and there's the arm. How it would have been. It was way more violent, and there was no high ground bullshit.
Yeah, so the alternate take, though, that we see here from Sir Dork is fantastic.
My favorite is, like, if you're a collector here, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, but Jared's using the Figure Arts ROTS Anakin, and there's a face that comes with that. That's like, it's such an odd face, because it's Anakin going like, ah!
I would say it's like it's almost like an anime looking face.
It's wild,
so
dude.
weird.
If you look at it like face on and not how Jared's got it on a slight angle, it's a little silly looking, but it actually works perfect for how Jared has Anakin stood up in the shot. But it is you look at this face sculpt and you're like, is this Anakin though? Is this what he looked like? Is this something he would do if he was angry? But hey, anyways, Jared's making it look explosive as usual. Lots of great bokeh going in there from fireworks. Nice posing, nice wire wiping. We all know it's the dude, the dog at Sir.Dork.
Indeed. Good stuff. Next up, I always love shots by Tong Wars because he just has this incredible spot outside of like either close to his house or wherever that he can get just beautiful environmental shots and then like add Star Wars figures into them. But this one's just another level because I don't know, like I have to imagine that he did some editing with the
sky. Yeah,
the sky.
I think like the lightning and the purple and the blues, but I would guess the sun might be legit.
Yeah,
and the subject, Nick, I think it's an MOC ghost. Okay, so like someone had a my own creation, gave out the directions, and somehow Tong Wars had all the right pieces, or this is the ghost that released. I'm not sure. Either way, as Nick said, having the Lego ghost, but then with this environment, this backdrop, this landscape is just ridiculous.
It is. I mean, Tong has an incredible place to do this. He did say that it's a my own creation ghost as well. So just to see like this ghost sitting down in like this kind of like wet sand environment, you can almost see like off to the left, it almost looks like a moisture evaporator from Tatooine.
Yeah, totally, it is.
And then like just these awesome cloud and lightning works, like you said, the setting sun. Gosh, like Tong just has the perfect place to take outdoor photography, and every time he takes a shot.
And real quick, I contend that Lego MOCers or people that are on like, the Lego show on Fox, they're some of the most amazingly creative people on the planet, and they should be real architects. Like how they can figure out all these random freaking Lego pieces that make no sense to create something that actually forms a shape, or in this case, the ghost from Star Wars Rebels. I think your brain is wired in a way that you should be doing something else to better this world. Build the next great structure, build a real fucking ghost. That's how impressive MOCs are to me, because no instructions, right? They're just making the shit up. They know the exact pieces they need to get there. That to me is a fucking talent.
Yeah, I mean, it's super impressive. So good stuff there at Tong Wars. Always a fun follow, so make sure to follow. And then to close out our top 5, it may be a little early out there, but at Collectibles Nat on Instagram hit us with a holiday themed Star Wars shot already. And what would you get? We get Santa, like Jawa Claus, right up front, checking his list to seeing who's naughty and nice. And then on the side, you can see all of the famous Star Wars droids. You got BB-8, you got Chopper, you got R2-D2, you got a Salacious Crumb like Grinch figure on top of R2-D2. You got R5, and then in the background you see
it's a DJ asshole.
C-3PO, and then it's a DJ. I would say I see C-3PO's head, and then DJ right under him. This is just a fun little holiday shot, getting people ready for the Christmas holiday season with Jawa Claus ready to go with all of his droid companions. So it's just really cool.
All right, Nick. Well, I told him I'd ask you, but did you see Press Pause's Thrawn shot?
Did I see it? I may have seen it, but maybe because it was Thrawn, I just...
And that's exactly... He's like, I bet he saw that it was Rebels Thrawn, and his body just like wouldn't let him do it, but...
It just like, it completely passed. Because I did...
I'm going to pull it up real quick. I know we got to go, but I told Connor offline. This is Connor of Beyond the Dune Sea. I was like, I got to bring this up to Nick. But if you look at it now, it is a fucking killer scene. The camera's essentially behind Ezra, who's pointing his lightsaber right at Thrawn, but it is not Thrawn, according to Nick. And maybe that just subconsciously prevented you from... picking it up, but it's a great looking scene. And I know we already give way too much credit and exposure to the Beyond the Dune Sea podcast and dudes, but I can't help it, right? Connor's clearly talented at both photography and video work. I mean, really, that's where their show shines, I think, is in the production of their clips and whatnot. Because clearly, if they think Rots is the best, they're not that in the know with real Star Wars, but their production's amazing. So I was just kidding with him. I was like, I got to bust Nick's balls a little bit, but you nailed it. You're like, well, if it was Rebels Thrawn, then that's probably, or Ahsoka Thrawn, that's probably why I didn't pick it. Yeah, so you got Ahsoka the joke. Thrawn. All right.
Passes right past. But that is it. That's the end of the top 5, and that's the end of our show for this week. So
that's right, people.
Go ahead, Matt, and close us out.
Thanks for coming around. If you were on the live stream, or if you were not, and you want to join next week, don't forget Tuesdays 5 p. East on YouTube.com/Star Wars Time Show. We also want to remind you that we have a place on the internet called StarWarsTime.net. And if you're looking at it right now, look at this. We did some tweaks last week, not by choice, but kind of forced by our theme maker, and we now have a dark mode. Look at at that. You can go dark or you can go light. You can go dark and then you can go back to light. I think I'm sticking on dark because that's how we like things over on StarWarsTime.net. But the reason we want you to go there because it is our point of linkage. If you need a link, if you want to listen to the podcast on a podcast platform like Pandora, TuneIn, maybe iTunes, maybe Spotify, we got all the jump off points for you at StarWarsTime.net. If you're more into looking at creepy mustaches and dudes in glasses, then we also have our YouTube link right there on the site. You can now also access our TikTok right up there in the top. So we even did a little tinkering under the hood on the site last week, as much as I fucking hate that and don't ever want to do it again. But we got a new and improved StarWarsTime.net. Don't forget to hit it up because there is always time for Star Wars Time, my friends. And I promise you, if you listen to the Star Wars Time show, the Force will be with you always.